Hello and welcome to Mirror Realm. My name's Nick and I've got Jarrod on the call with me today.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about we had a Cornerstone Weekend, Cornerstones Weekend in Adelaide. We had 2 Cornerstone events in the weekend just passed. They were both limited, so we'll talk about that a bit. And we're going to just sort of dive into the deck that I drafted on one of them. The deck that won the tournament. We'll go over some of the games, talk about the games, break it down a bit, and do some analysis in a bit. But for now, I think for a few minutes, I think we can just talk about the weekend generally. Because it was a bit, I don't know intense is the word, but it was very, it's a lot of gameplay. I mean, we played 2 limited events, both cut the top 8, so it was like 14 rounds. 14 rounds all the way up. Pretty much 2 days of sort of starting from like 10 to sort of 8:30 p.m.-ish. So 2 pretty long days, a lot of sorcery, sort of 2 sealed deck construction, 2 drafts and like deck construction. Like it was pretty much just non-stop. There was no dedicated lunch break or anything like that. It was pretty much just non-stop sorcery each day from like morning till evening. And yeah, it felt, I don't know, I think it was really positively received. Everyone had a blast, but it's pretty interesting that in a way, sort of the most intensive sorcery gameplay experience, that was probably it for a weekend, was it? Don't know. It's got to be up there though, doesn't it?
Maybe the Nationals. Maybe Nationals last year was the New Zealand Australian Championship thing was right up there as well. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
more so than the Crossroads. So just trying to get the name right.
yeah. I think that's fair. So it's possible, and I'm not following everything, but certainly whatever this was that we did over the weekend would have been right up there with the top few sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, like events, like weekends or something like that in the world, that in regards to just how much sorcery was sort of played, so to speak. And that was
just to be clear on the formats themselves. It was both days was 4 rounds of sealed into a top 8 draft for both of them.
Yeah, and on the Saturday it was Arthurian Legends Beta, and on the Sunday, even though we're in Australia and it's delayed, we did get some help from sorcery employees to get us some Gothic. So it was Gothic on the Sunday, and on the Saturday, it was Beta and Arthurian Legends. We had a few people travel from interstate. I did realise, thinking about that afterwards, because, spoiler alert, one of the interstate players, Luca, he won the Sunday event, but he also didn't make the top 8 out of only 12 players on the Saturday event.
Yeah. And
honestly, I think that's one of the biggest testaments for how sort of
strong the field in Adelaide is.
Yeah, I think it's like even the worst players here are quite good, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so too.
Especially out of all the regular ones, like pretty much anyone is capable of beating anyone. It's a bit awkward, obviously, because for especially, I don't know if awkward is the word, but for newer players, they don't know how to play the game. Obviously, the level of play is generally pretty high where we are, but everybody's
the early learning curve quite high.
Yeah, but everybody's really trying to help each other. Like, I mean, we sort of obviously doing these videos and stuff, but even locally, like, we don't shy away from trying to help people out, give them tips, give them advice, and sort of help people improve as well. And quite a few of the local players
often during the games we'll even do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a bit less so.
Something and we're like, do you sort of understand? Like, do you know the exact rules of how this works out here?
Yeah.
And then you just because basically a lot of the time, with the way you do the takebacks in this game anyway, if someone plays a card and it doesn't work the way they think it's going to work, you're going to wind back anyway. So you may as well just help them out in that situation.
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, it's a bit trickier, obviously, when it was the Cornerstones, because there's like it's a little bit different. You have to run it a bit more like a how do you say, like a
bigger event.
Yeah, a bit more. I don't know,
more a higher rules level enforcement. Basically,
exactly. It's basically more strict, right? Like you can't really tell people sort of what to do on their turn, so to speak, if that makes sense. Whether that's direct or indirect sort of thing. So you just have to let people play and make their own decisions. And obviously you want to do that anyway. But the difference is normally when people are doing stuff and they're learning how to play the game, we'll quite often just lay it out like you have these 4 choices, right? Like these are your 4 lines. Like if you're going to attack, it's like, and it's obviously a really bad idea to do that. We sort of point that out and stuff like that. But when it's like on a normal sort of basis, that's how it looks. And I think, I don't know, it's like pretty like even.
I think one way to really drive that home, right, is if someone would make an attack where they don't quite realize exactly how it's going to work out, and you have the option to block, right? You in our fortnightly events would be like, the basically the take back rule is if you could have blocked, there's like a decision point, right? That you can't really wind back past that with the generic take back rules sort of thing. So we'll sort of, like in a fortnightly, we'll sort of wind that back a little bit if it was like a very obviously they didn't understand the exact things that were going to happen with that sort of thing, so we'd let them take that.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not like you're telling them what to do, right? It's more like just a warning. No. It's like you do realise if you do this, then I could do this, and if that was part of your plan and you're okay with that, then proceed, right? Because sometimes you got a spell in hand or whatever, you're like setting up a magic missiles or whatever, right? So, but I think it's more just pointing it out to make sure people are aware that it's potentially a really bad move and going through, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's really it was really interesting that Luca won it on the Sunday and didn't make the top 8 on the Saturday. I think that is one of the strongest testaments, really, to the standard of play where we are, especially for limited. Also, we've got a younger lad. I think he's 9. He was 3-1, I think, on the Saturday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3-1. Yep.
So even if it only cut to top 4 instead of the top 8, he would have made the top 4. I think he finished 4th. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was really interesting. Quite a variety of different players made the top 8 over the 2 days, and yeah, even though it was, I don't know what the wording is there, like a smaller sort of intimate sort of, I think it was at 12 and then 14 on the Sunday. We had a couple more when there was Gothic being used, but it really felt the standard was pretty high on the whole, and the three that travelled from interstate, well, like Luca and his brother and father, they're all pretty good as well. Pretty decent standard as well. So I think it's a really good weekend, and we were quite taken care of by the 2 LGSs that are run by the same person and took really good care of us. On the Sunday in particular, kept the store open for like 3.5 hours, I think, past closing time, so that we could actually do a proper top 8 and not just cut it up after Swiss. And I think it's just stuff like that. It really, you look around at even events that we played, like, stores being open past closing time can be a real issue some places, and it creates a lot of tension, and it can cause issues. And it really just felt like, even though it was 3.5 hours past, it could have just been longer, and it would have been okay with the store owner as well. Like, I think we were just really, really taken care of. It didn't, like, it wasn't just that he said that we could stay late, but it's also that we were staying late, and it really didn't feel like there was any pressure. He was applying zero pressure for us.
He was happy to be there.
Yeah. There was no, like, move it along, finish up, like, it inferred or otherwise, right? Like, there was no bumping, him coming around and sort of, doing walk passes, like, stuff like that. So I think it was just really good. And you can just see, like, obviously, a lot of other Cornerstone events, they don't have a top 8 or a top 4 or whatever as well. They just, I think I even saw one in. I think there was one. I think the one in Tasmania. Not only did it not go to a top cup, but it didn't even play enough Swiss rounds to have a single winner.
Oh wow!
So some unlucky person just won all of their games and finished second, and didn't get the Dragon Lord or whatever. Which also feels pretty rough. So I think it's just, it's not necessarily. It is what it is. Wherever it is that you're playing, and you just make the most of what you have. All I'm really saying is we're very fortunate where we are, really, to have been able to do that, and really not only not have been a problem as such, but also to have been sort of gone out of the way to be accommodated for was really good. So, right. Was there anything much else to say? I mean, it was a pretty big weekend as well. A bunch of us went out for dinner Saturday and Sunday as well, so it really just felt like got up first thing in the morning, just sort of get ready, go straight to there, Sorcery the whole day, go out for dinner, come home, go to bed, and do exactly the same thing 2 days in a row, pretty much, it felt like.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, for sure.
So, look, hopefully we can do something like that again. They haven't announced yet whether Cornerstones will even continue to exist or not. Hopefully they will, and hopefully we can do something similar again, and maybe make it, put some other stuff, like come up with some ways to make it a bit better, and maybe hopefully get more people if there. But I think definitely it was definitely like a players event, so to speak. There wasn't really much going on. Well, socializing as well. But yeah, it was very good. I think the other thing, just in particular where we are, that is worth pointing out is that we're also very lucky that we have a very good group as well. I think in regards to just everyone's really nice, easy going. I know that's like a bit of a running thing through all
the Sorcery community,
community as a whole generally, but there are definitely exceptions to that. And we're very lucky that we don't have any of those exceptions, pretty much. We don't have absolutely. A singular bad apple, so to speak. We don't have a single person who throws a tantrum to any degree when they lose. We don't have anyone who's trying to be sort of, I don't know how you want to put it, like pushing things competitively to, trying to clutch at small things in order to win type of thing, if that makes sense. I feel like we're very lucky that we've got this combination of players that are sort of really nice, really good, really eager to improve, and really eager to accommodate and help each other. And sort of not really anybody that falls outside of that I think we're very lucky there, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, you try and continue to grow the local scene, but the real unfortunate part about doing that is that there is an inevitability that eventually you're going to end up with that person who sort of makes it all a bit worse for everybody instead of a bit better, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's just a good local scene that's big enough to be able to do something like we did on the weekend as well, because if it wouldn't, it couldn't be much smaller before. That wouldn't really be possible to have done that either. So I think that's just, we're just lucky there.
We're in that sweet spot.
Yeah, we're in that sweet spot. Alright, so was there anything more else to say? I don't think much more to cover about the weekend, right? Just, it was really good, and thank you to everybody who participated.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Hans, the shop guy that was helped us out, with everything, and like the last over year. How long have we been doing this for now? Like a year and a half, whatever.
I think a year and a half. Yeah, just always
around
accommodated for, pretty much.
Yeah, he's just been great the whole time.
Because definitely this is just, I wouldn't say it's impossible to have done what we did without him accommodating us, but if there was any real tension from him to be against it, like, it just wouldn't happen. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And from the moment that we said we'd like to do this, it could be like a good, weekend of Sorcery in Adelaide, and like from the moment that we floated the idea and we thought that it was that we thought it was a good idea and why, and there's a few reasons, but it's just, but really it was just he was just on board with it as a concept. I mean, I think he was quite, like I said, he stayed back late. I mean, originally when we were setting it up, we were assuming that we would have to be finished up by 5, right?
Yeah.
So originally, when I put this proposal to him, there was no expectation that they would open late. It was just, we wouldn't, we would just run the Swiss rounds, and whoever was top of the Swiss would win that one. That was what we were originally planning. And then he actually asked us if we would like to do a top 8. He would keep the store open and stay back late for us if we would want to do that. And it was definitely like, we don't expect that or whatever. And he was like, if that's the best format, then do that, and the store will be open late for you, type of thing. And it was like, well, there's definitely a better format, to have that. So, I mean, the other thing that we did, because in our community in particular, pretty much everyone is in 2s or 3s or whatever, right? Like it's father and son, or it's brothers, or it's me and my wife, and so on. Not literally, there are, but there's a lot of people that are effectively sort of coming to the events together, pretty much, right? So we knew that if we just had an event and then there was like a top 8 or a top 4 or whatever, that it's pretty awkward for everybody else to sort of have to wait around for all the people they know and not have anything to do themselves.
Yeah.
So we very early caught onto that and thought we'd also run like a bottom cut draft as well and have prizing for that. And I think on the whole, pretty much everyone just played, right? Everyone that didn't make the top cut played in the bottom cut draft. I think that is actually true.
Yeah.
So
it is.
And so definitely we would do something like that again. We could try and get a bit better prizing for that maybe next time to make that a little bit more exciting down there. But obviously, whatever prizing is for any event, you would always rather just have more. Like that's just going to be. I don't imagine there's any exceptions to that ever, that you wouldn't prefer to have more prizes if you could. So
yeah.
But I think on the whole, it was just, I don't know. It was really, I mean, people were exhausted, I think, but come Sunday night, it was like,
when I got home on the Sunday night, I was feeling a bit tired. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just quickly chuck some of them on the TV and like lay on the couch, and immediately fell asleep for like 3 hours. Woke up, I'm like, oh, yeah, alright, let's go to bed then, I guess. And then just went to sleep for the rest of the night. It was, I was definitely pretty exhausted.
Right, so we didn't catch the draft itself for my deck on camera. I have a bit of an idea about stuff generally. Obviously, it would have been more interesting if we caught the draft on camera. We did catch your draft on camera for the top 8.
Yeah, we're about 5 picks into this draft, and I thought, we should have been recording someone's draft for this top 8. And then, we did it for the next day, but so I thought about it just a little bit too late.
The benefit of this one is that the camera recordings of the actual matches, I think, are fine to use as is. You can pretty much see what's going on, whereas the ones from tomorrow are like gonna need some magic to happen on that angle.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna have to do some. I'm gonna have to do something, I think. So hopefully I can somehow do some magic with the video to make them more watchable, without needing to like do high edit with like a miniature window of the game and then have to recreate the whole thing in Tabletop Simulator or something crazy like that. We'll see when we get there what needs to be done. But for now, I think we can just talk about the deck that I drafted. In a way, this might make a decent sort of, I don't know if closure is the word, but we were doing a sort of series on Arthurian Legends Limited. This can sort of act as a bit of a wrap up for this. I have got my sealed pool. I don't know if you've still got your sealed pool from the event, but can certainly.
No, I don't.
I've still got my sealed pool, so we can maybe after we do this and we cover the matches, we could also perhaps go over the sealed pool that I had. Because at least that's like, this is the pool and this is the deck. Whereas with the draft, it's obviously we're missing a little bit of information. But still worth talking about the deck that I played with, I think, before jumping into the matches.
And you 4-0'd the Swiss for this one, right?
Yeah, yep. So it's probably a pretty decent seal pool to look into because I 4-0'd the Swiss and then with that deck and then yeah. But definitely I managed to arrive in a pretty good place, I think, with the Arthurian Legends Beta Limited in the end. I think I've got a long way to go at the moment to be that good with Gothic, pretty much. So, right, but we can...
Gothic is a very different set for Limited.
Yeah, and it's not a me set, unfortunately. Not that I don't like the set, but we can talk about a little bit, because we're going to end up with some debates about this deck construction, and probably also, if we looked at the seal pool, we're going to end up in some debates about that as well. But the types of things that you can do with the deck construction in this, you can't really do in Gothic. There was, going back a long way, in Magic the Gathering, there was a set called Dragon's Maze. I think it's actually regarded as one of the worst Magic sets ever now, retrospectively.
I think Dragon's Maze?
Dragon's Maze? Is that what it was called?
It might have been from when I wasn't playing, but I don't know that set by name at all. Let's have a look.
So it was 2013.
Yeah, there's a set called Dragon's Maze.
Yeah. And then the big thing about that set in particular was that basically all of the cards were multicolour. There was just loads of multicolored stuff in that, and loads of mana fixing in that set.
That sounds awesome.
And for me, it was the one time in all of Magic Online, playing Magic Online, that I could play and actually just make loads of money from playing, if that makes sense. Loads is relative here, right? Not compared to a real job or whatever, but effectively you could play Magic Online, you could play drafts, and you could play, play for a weekend and make a couple $100 type of thing.
Basically we used to call it going infinite. Basically
but it was like going
drafts off the one set.
Yeah, exactly. But I was doing better than going infinite, if you know what I mean. I was turning a profit.
Yeah.
And basically the reason I could do that is because every single draft I was just playing a 5-color deck, and then that enabled me to draft all the valuable cards as well, without really compromising the deck very much, like you normally would have to if you want to draft the cards of value. You can't play them quite often. So basically, I could draft all the high value cards, but everyone else seemed to just be trying to play normally, so to speak, with just a 2 or 3 color deck. Yeah, but anyway, so I just really enjoyed playing that. It's weird because everyone hated that set, and it was my favorite draft experience ever, pretty much. It was triple Dragon's Maze, I think. I think it was like in a block cycle, it was like the third one, but when the sets first came out, you could do triple of just that set, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think. Anyways, so for me, in Sorcery, it's actually a lot easier to do this type of stuff because of having a separate Atlas and Spellbook and the Mulligan rule and the deck construction and stuff. You can do a bit here. So I'm sure we'll get bogged down in the conversation a bit. But for now, I think we can just look at what I drafted and sort of talk about each card and where we think it sort of sits value-wise. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, sure.
So I think we can start with... Should we start with what's not in the deck? Is that a good place to start?
I mean, it doesn't really give context for why they're not in the deck if you don't know what's in the deck.
Alright, we'll start with what's in the deck. Sure. So, we'll start. I'll just do it in order of they appear. I think that's going to be the most straightforward. I mean, the reason why it's both...
Do you remember roughly when you picked each card?
A lot of them.
Yeah, okay. That's probably a good thing to mention as well.
Yep. So, the reason why it's Spellslinger is because I didn't draft an avatar, nor did I have a choice to draft one at any point, so that's a non-thing. Entangled Terrain was a very late pick, and it's the first time I think I've ever played this card in Limited. It was the 24th card.
Yeah, that was the line I was going down. When I quickly looked through your collection before, I was like, is there a way to not play this? Is it actually decent? Who knows? But yeah,
We'll get there.
I think yeah.
For me,
it was
there's a toss-up between that and the Finwife.
Yeah,
that's where I landed, choosing between those two.
That's where I landed as well.
And we can get to why I chose the Entangled Terrain maybe after, because you need the context of the rest of the deck to understand why I chose it over the Finwife. Because I think quite often you would just choose the Finwife over it.
I think I already know, but yeah, we will get there when we get there.
Rolling Boulder, I think, was my first pick in my beta pack. Think it's just really good. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a good card.
It's just really, really good.
Interestingly, I think if the Rolling Boulder was in my beta pack that I opened, there was no chance it would have been first picked. But we'll get there when we get there. Well, I think it's a good card, and it is a first pick in a decent pack, but not like a absurd pack like mine was.
I mean, I was also lacking a lot of, as you can see in the Magic, I was lacking. Yeah. I didn't have the Ice Lance yet at the time, so all I had was the Stone Rain as a way to sort of kill him on death's door. So I was lacking
and the two jousts.
The two, yeah. But I was just generally lacking. That type of effect, if that makes sense, like the ability to not only kill on death's door as such, but to just do damage to something. And to sort of solve problems. Like I didn't really have good solutions to just get like Rolling Boulder is really good. It doesn't just kill on death's door, right? Like there's potential that you can board wipe them and stuff with this card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it has,
especially with the way Limbo plays out as well.
It's really high potential upside as a card, I think. So, it's worth probably noting that we had always done Arthurian Legends Beta as the pack order. So, we had already drafted all the Arthurian Legends cards by the time I had drafted the Entangled Terrain and the Rolling Boulder as well. So I already knew what my deck was lacking when I picked it. The reason why we drafted it that way is because we were always told that was the order until it wasn't, basically.
Yeah.
And the only real reason... and then basically everyone locally had played with that format for 1.5 years, so we just kept it pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Plus, I think there's a definite conversation. It's a better pack order, basically, than doing.
I think it's a much better pack order.
So do I. So,
but it's a bit of a moot point now, since I don't think we'll ever be drafting it again.
I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, never say. We play a lot.
I think realistically, if we go back and do older formats, I don't think it's going to involve AL. It's either be triple AL for get the really good AL experience, or it's going to be maybe some beta, just straight beta, or realistically, I think it's just going to be Gothic only for at least the next 6 months,
probably.
Which I'm looking forward to, and I would prefer and hope, But yeah, maybe one day, way in the future, we'll be sitting around, we'll have uncracked AL boxes and one beta box uncracked, and we'll be like, let's have a good times draft sort of thing. Go down memory lane.
Never say never. Who knows? Who knows, right? But yeah, I think I can move on here, but I think it's just... I'm pretty sure I first picked this in my pack, and I'm pretty sure this is just a good first pick. Not an unhappy
solid.
one.
Super solid.
Pufferfish was pretty late, and I was pretty happy to get that. As you can see here, there's actually a lot of beta cards in my deck, so I was perfectly aware that I was drastically short of playables for my spellbook.
Yeah, because you got a lot of sites.
I got a lot of sites, yeah. So I was acutely aware of that. So I was really happy to get this one late, because this is one where, even though it is a 1-drop as such, it can still be pretty good, even if it's
arguably
a late game drop.
Arguably this gets better the later the game goes.
Yeah,
because a lot of the time you'll play it on the same turn as you play a decent minion in the late. Say it's your turn 5 and you have 5 mana for some reason because you just had to draw sites for some reason, or you hit a leprechaun and you actually got the 5-on-5, and you go, brown bears, pufferfish, they're in a lot of trouble. Or even Seguin pufferfish, right? Like, it makes it almost impossible for them to kill the Seguin when you have like a pufferfish safely underneath it, or even just safely behind it, in the case if it wasn't on a water site, and just makes it very hard to kill the actual threat, while still also not just being like a chump blocker, right? It actually trades with whatever it hits, so it just gets better and better the later the game goes, I think.
Yep, which is a very important for this deck in particular, because there's a very real chance you wouldn't be able to play it early as well, even if you had it, which we'll get to, just because there's only 4 water sites. And we'll get to that after, but there's a chance that if you do this early, you couldn't play it early, pretty much, but importantly, it's still really good late. Yes. The Sly Fox, less so. It's still good late though, but it's also really good early as a 1-drop. But at the end of the day, if you look with the cards that ended up, there's no way that you're not playing this, pretty much. This was a really late pick as well. I don't know how.
Yeah, we value this card quite highly, so...
Yeah, especially in our local group. I don't know how it slipped to like a 6th pick or something, I think. Well, I say it late, like a 6th pick, but that's really late for us, for our local group.
I think from memory, there wasn't that many people playing Water. It might have just been you and Luke. Like, you with a little bit of Splash and Luke, and then maybe one more. I don't think there was much, but Luke was very heavily in Water, I think, and he got a lot of the good stuff. So it might have just been him.
Boss Troll... I took that one pretty high. I think that was a 4th pick.
No, your 4th pick was Root Spider.
Oh, Root Spider. Okay, maybe it was 3rd pick? I picked this pretty high. So, I knew that already by the time we were drafting the beta pack that my deck was basically base Earth and a splash of Water and a splash of Fire. And it was really important that the deck could be functional in the early turns if it had water spells but no water sites, or it had fire spells and no fire sites, if that makes sense. So as long as you could be functional in the first few turns, if you had Earth, if you always had Earth and you could do something, you could have some kind of board presence, that was really important. And obviously Boss Troll was awesome for that, pretty much. That you can play it on turn 2 always. If you draw it, it's really good for that. So I just knew that it was a disproportionately valuable card for this deck, because it was super important to have early plays in Earth in particular.
And realistically, Boss Troll is a pretty high pick anyway.
Yeah.
So you never upset.
It's just more valuable in this deck because you pretty much...
You need it to say,
One, you need it, and 2, you need to mulligan in such a way that you always have Earth sites as well. So you're always going to be able to play it on curve if you draw it as well. You're not going to start with no Earth sites, basically, in this deck. Fisherman's Family, we rate the families really high. If you watch the AL sort of drafting series, you'd know that.
And I think a big part of that is because we like drafting decks like this.
Yep.
Like this really exemplifies like why we like families quite a lot. Because we like doing things like this, and it's a very, like, if you look at the card quality, like, we basically, saying we're just going to play the super card quality of 3 elements, sometimes 4, but most of the time it's 3. For me particularly, but you generally try and go for that 4th. But
I think so. For me, that was a lot of just wanting to learn though and explore. Not that I thought it was optimal necessarily, but just that I really wanted to push that from a design perspective in Limited, just to see. Just to
I suppose that
skill up.
Sort of showed in our results as well, right? Like, that it probably was a bit better to go 3 as an optimal thing, because most of the time I would beat you out in the drafts. Like, I would win and then you would come second, sort of thing. And sometimes it was down to the consistency, but sometimes, like, of the 3, but sometimes you'd just hit the exact what you needed and just have more raw power and edge out over top.
Yeah. Yep. And then in the end, obviously, what you kind of want is just the balance of both, right?
Yes.
Realistically. And I think in Arthurian Legends, that's normally... I know there's exceptions all over the place, but I imagine that normally lands on a 3-element deck. Like, getting that correct balance of consistency and power. Like, that's where you're going to end up most of the time.
Yeah, AL had great fixing in general, but it also had, like, even with all the overly thresholded things, it still felt like you could do this sort of 3 to 4 element deck way more easily than you can do 2 elements in Gothic.
Yep.
With how much extra fixing.
Yeah, and it's for me
that'll be an interesting discussion point, I think.
Yeah,
at some point.
I really didn't like it. I like the set or whatever, but I really didn't like when we've done Gothic. We did a weird draft for it with 4 packs or whatever. Ignore that because it's not a reflective experience. Not on this weekend, on the release weekend.
Yeah,
but the 2 seal pools.
Air in that one.
The 2 seal pools I've had in Gothic have felt very much. I don't know if disappointing is the word, but it's just like these are the cards. These are the best 2 elements. You play in those 2 elements. Play whatever vanilla sites to make the numbers up. That's it.
We've had beta packs in all of our Gothic seals as well, though. So
so hopefully that
potentially skews things into an awkward state. Like maybe that extra Gothic pack would really help shore up all the problems. We don't know yet, so we'll find out.
See. Yeah,
whenever we get Gothic,
it'll be
I guess.
More interesting. Yeah. So that wasn't choice, by the way. For anyone listening, that was just because we didn't have enough Gothic packs for everybody. So when we did the Cornerstone, it was 5 Gothic and 1 Beta, right? So that we would have enough packs left to do top 8 draft with all Gothic, basically, and to accommodate everybody. So we had exactly enough packs for that, fortunately, with the number of players. So, yeah. But anyway, so Fisherman's Family. I mean, to be clear here, if I got the... what's the air one? Is it No.
Castle Servants?
Castle Servants, yeah. If I had picked up a Castle Servants, even though I wasn't playing air, that would have been in the deck instead of the Entangled Terrain.
Yes. And if you had had another one, it might have even been over the Slythox. Like, with how you're... Depending on how the threshold sites... Because, like, as soon as you drop that Fox, it really lets your sites be way more flexible as well, So
we really rate them, not because not ignoring, but providing that threshold is a big deal, can be a big deal, can be a massive deal, depending on the deck. But even without that, just the fact that you can always play them on curve is such a big deal.
Very important.
And then as we talked about in the other videos for this, just your opponent not knowing how valuable that threshold is to you can quite often result in them feeling like they have to kill it in sort of inefficient ways, or they're not feeling that way, and then you punishing them, as well because you needed that threshold. So it's pretty, I don't know, common if it's a word, but it's not that uncommon. Like you play something like that on turn 2, and they're just magic missiles it or something, right? And and potentially it was just the off element family, right?
But potentially it just ruined your whole game.
Yeah, exactly. So, but just to be clear here, like the family would have been in this deck probably over the Fox, an off element family, probably definitely over the Entangled Terrain as well. So a reason to draft them relatively highly is just that there's an excellent chance that would just make your deck, even if you don't need the threshold, basically. And again, a big reason for that is because if you're playing 3 elements, those thresholds, there's a pretty good chance they're going to matter if you're playing 3 elements. And the other reason is because you don't want to stumble too hard in the beginning of the game, and you can always play them on curve.
Yes.
When you're playing 3 elements or 4.
And the other thing is, most of the units at 2 in AL are 2 power anyway. So even in the scenario where you just have to play it and trade, you're still okay most of the time with that. Like, it's not the end of the world.
I think the Leprechaun was the first pick for me.
I can see that. I could see that being first pick, pack 1 for you. I mean, I'd do it plenty as well, but yeah, we value this guy even higher than the families. Because basically, if you're playing 3 elements, almost always one of them is Earth, and this guy helps your early game, fixes your mana, helps you actually just accelerate your mana as well, because you don't have to have like a tap draw turn or just a natural draw turn, which helps you draw a spell. So yeah, this guy is just it's an absolute house. I mean, I think when we did the AL series, we had this and Bear pretty close, with Bear edging it out. I don't know. I've always liked this a little bit more than Bear, but understanding that Bear is probably better. Well, I love this guy.
And depending on the deck, it can be better as well, right? Like,
yeah, true.
Depending,
like if you don't have pawns, then you're low on, if you don't have to stretch your base to double Earth, then yeah, he's probably better as well.
And again, with this deck, you're always going to have that Earth threshold, so you're basically, guaranteed. I hate to use that word because obviously nothing is guaranteed, but it's somewhat certain that you're going to play this on turn 2 as well, and it's really good. Obviously, if you have it in your starting hand, but you don't have the Earth threshold and you don't end up playing it till later in the game, it's nowhere near as good. So, still good though. Autumn Unicorn. I mean, we talk about how good Brown Bears is, and this is just straight up better than Brown Bears, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm pretty sure my first picks were Rolling Boulder into...
So I probably went Boulder, Unicorn, Boss Troll,
Root
Spider.
And then Root Spider. Yep, that were the first 4. Yep. And I didn't have any qualms, like, taking this pick too. I was, like, totally happy. I was, like...
I mean, if Unicorn and Boulder were in the same pack, you'd probably still take the Unicorn over the Boulder as well,
probably.
Right? Like,
probably.
It's so good.
Especially in this deck, in particular, because there is a very good chance that you can play it on curve in this... And I already knew that. The deck had already shaped up that way by the time I picked it, right? So...
Yeah. And already having a pond means it can potentially be a 2-drop and fix those thresholds anyway, and it's like, oof, that's a good turn 2.
Yep. Double Longbowman. One of these I took pretty high. It might have been the 5th pick.
Yeah.
And the other one was like pick 9 or something. It was way down. Like, really oddly down. And I know
which means that the first time it came around, you probably would have taken the Unicorn over it, which is absolutely fair. But then tabling it is like, whoa.
So
there were some really strong packs. This draft overall, everyone's deck was very high power. There was a lot of really strong packs in this draft. Like, I remember my pack had 9 first picks in it. And that's why you got a Root Spider 4th pick, and that's why I know it was 4th pick, because that was also in my pack.
Yeah. Cave Trolls, that was between the 2 Longbowmen, I think, so that was like 7 or 8.
Yep.
And again, very happy to take it. I knew it would just be in the deck. It's, the burrowing's not totally insignificant because there is some berry effects in beta. And
there's also spiders.
Yep, there's also spiders.
Like, you taking it potentially protects your spider from it as well.
Yeah. It was just an easy pick. Very happy with it. The pigs, at the time when I drafted this, I didn't know if it would be in the deck or not. I felt like it probably would have. It was the second pack, and I was already somewhat heavy on Earth, so I felt like there was a chance that it would be in the deck. Because this is one where if you draft it, sometimes it's in the deck, sometimes it isn't. Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So
it's trying to be Ogre Goons in a lot of deck, but the thresholds are a little bit restrictive to be that guy. But it's always a solid dude. It's one of those, like you say, right? Like, if there was, if you had like another, even Ogre Goons maybe would have made it over this, but probably not with the current mana base.
Not with this, not how it turned out, but maybe it turns out different if you have that card instead of this card. So I don't know. So yeah, Root Spider. It was already abundantly clear to me that I would be playing water when I drafted this. Like, there's no way that I wouldn't be. Like, I couldn't have built a deck without, like, there was too many water cards already. So, definitely I would have water and a Root Spider, which is a little bit suboptimal, but it's still a no-brainer to me to have taken it.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you sort of just conceptualize it as, like, it's jammed between a water site in every direction except the one that it's on, and just being able to completely, like, sort of disable something that's a real problem that you can't otherwise deal with is...
Well, I mean, that sort of comes up in the first match.
Yep.
That almost that exact situation. But yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah, I mean, it basically just... This combined with another card just wins a game that was sort of otherwise unwinnable as well. It was like one of 2 cards that contributed to a state that... I mean, it definitely... It's just such a good card, even in a deck where it's, like, not that good. It's still really good, pretty much. Like, it was an easy include. Like, I knew when I picked it that it would be in the deck for sure. I knew that there would be water sites. I knew that it would be a bit clunky. And I knew that it was still... All doesn't matter because it's just such a high raw power level, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've got a Verdant Knight. I rate these really highly.
Because they're incredible.
Yeah. These were both very high picks in the first couple picks, I think, in each pack. Both the Knights. And I'm happy to sort of take him that high. They are, as you say, I think they're just incredible. They're just such a high power level. I think because you effectively the ability to play it and drop the lance or something else, pick it up, and then like kill something, it is just really strong effectively for you to.
Yeah, it makes so much tempo while also being on a 3-power body. It's like it's very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, these are so like I have no qualms first picking these in a pack as well. I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Now part of that is because I know all the time that we were drafting that there's a good chance I'll play a 4-element deck, so it doesn't. Oh, they'll be in the deck no matter what as well, which you wouldn't necessarily know that if it's pick one, like pack one, pick one.
Yeah, and most of the time, having 2 different thresholds is actually easier to cast than 2 of the same.
Yep, true that. And yeah, I don't know, they're really good. They're also really good in multiples in a way because it's like they can use each other's lances and then they hit for 4 with first strike, which basically kills everything.
Yeah.
Just about as well. So, I don't know. These are just really good, and it's kind of where, like, how in many ways the deck just ended up being those 3 elements because of having drafted both of those cards really highly.
Yeah. And another, important interaction with them is the pufferfish as well. Like, having first strike on those is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, really good with the pufferfish as well. I don't know. These are so good, and I'm not sure if they're. I don't feel like they're generally treated that way in limited play.
Yeah, it feels like it. Another thing is they just got buffed again with the lance revert back to the way they used to work. So
yeah,
even stronger.
Obviously in this specific deck, the Verdant one is better than the yellow one, just because there's more chance of you being able to play it early, which can matter with these as well.
Yeah, we'll get there. I have some thoughts.
So, double brown bears, both pretty high picks. I don't have any issues picking these high. I think they were both second or third picks, actually. So, I think the first picks were the Leprechaun and one of the 2 Knights. I can't remember which one. And then I think the brown bears might have been second pick twice. So 2 second picks maybe for the 2 brown bears.
Yeah, so fair. They definitely deserve to be first or second pick sort of cards. So
I don't have any issues with it. Especially by the time I got to the second brown bears, like I knew that I was definitely on Earth, so to speak, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, Earth main.
Felt very happy. They're just really good. Obviously, the Autumn Unicorn is better, but you very rarely get the opportunity to ever pick up an Autumn Unicorn, where brown bears you get the opportunity every draft. It's just whether you take them or not, pretty much, right? So Sir Gawain was a bit like 4th or 5th pick. It was something like first pack. It was the second pack. So, and at that point once that had come, I think it was just like, I'm definitely just these 3 elements. I'm locked in 100% at that point. And I think the pick before I took it, I think I actually took the air card just in case, because there was nothing else that great. This one
probably would have been the lookout.
Yeah. Just in case, just to give me that. But then once I picked that, because I remember thinking, damn, I shouldn't have taken that lookout. But it was like my insurance policy in case I had to go into air, because it was obvious for me that I was a little bit that I may have to end up playing 4 elements as well, just because I needed so many. It was a bit of a weird one because I took a sight even though I needed more spells. The reason for that is just because there was nothing that I would have felt that great about playing out of the spells anyway. So, but yeah, but this is very strong in limited.
Yeah,
like really strong and arguably also
it's
pretty good in constructed.
Well. Yeah, it's just the thresholds are the thing that draw this guy back in constructed.
And for a lot of people, limited, right? But obviously, for me or for us, for me, like in particular, it's just the type of card that if it's pick one, pack one, I'll probably take this. If it's in the pack,
yeah, I'd probably be there as well.
And then you just make it work. And if it so happens that it's a bit awkward to play because the thresholds are a bit awkward, then so be it. It's a bit awkward. It's good enough to be a bit awkward over, pretty much.
Well, the thing about if it's pick one, pack one, you can really tailor your whole draft to just make it work. And even if both of the people to like your left and right are heavy earth, then you just go more into the fire, water, and then you just stretch your mana base a little bit to play the double earth of this, and you'll get there. Even if you only have like between 5 and 7 earth cards anyway, you can still make this work without punishing yourself too hard as well.
And I'm pretty sure the Sealy Court came the pick that was immediately after Gawain as well. Pretty sure they were 1-2. So, and I was just lacking playables. I knew the double water threshold wasn't ideal because I already knew what else I drafted and that I ideally would only want to play one water threshold. But I was lacking playables. The raw power level of this is pretty high.
Yeah, I mean it's big, and you get the draw, like they don't get the draw first, so it's like it's more impactful for you than it is for them, and quite often it'll just like be big enough on the board that it sort of dominates the board anyway. So it's like giving them the extra card is less relevant when you're like killing one of their cards for free each turn potentially as well.
And there's a not low but pretty low-ish curve deck with, like, in a way where if I was drawing to a turn that I could maybe play to a turn, where even if my opponent was drawing to, maybe they can only play one. So, like, the card...
Well, basically, you've only got, like, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, 7 cards including the Sealy Court that cost more than 6. So if you're drawing 2 cards a turn, you've already got 6 mana in play. Realistically, you're probably drawing 2 3s or less every turn, so you are playing both of them.
But I was acutely aware that this is on... By the time I drafted this, I knew it was just going to be in my deck as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of just knew that, and like I said, it matters for stuff because I was really trying to keep on one water threshold.
Yep.
The Ice Lance, this was pretty late, and I was very happy to see it because I was lacking playables and lacking this type of effect as well. If that makes sense, like a kill him on death's door, do some damage type of effect. Yeah. I was like really glad to see this late because I just knew it would be in the deck. I desperately wanted the effect. It's the type of card that, I wouldn't have been grumpy if I had the 5th pick it or something, right? And I ended up getting a 12th pick or something, 11th pick, something really low.
I think we both have quite a different read on this card. I don't think this card's very good at all, even in limited, outside of killing on death's door. It's so hard to make this card work in limited most of the time. But as you're saying, right, if you need playables and you need ways to kill them on death's door, absolutely you end up with this card in your deck. But I don't think I wouldn't be happy ever having a 5th pick this card in a beta pack.
Yeah, maybe that was a bit of an exaggeration. All I'm really saying is I knew when I took this, it's 100% making the deck list because I knew I was sort of playables basically. So I was so happy to see it, and I would way rather be playing this than in Entangled Terrain. Basically.
Oh, I'm right there with you on that. I think, for this deck in particular, I think it's fine. But there's certainly better cards in beta you can be picking, that's for sure.
Double Joust. Ideally, I wouldn't have been playing 2, but again, it's like you're not gonna play the other. I was just short of playables basically, and you're not unhappy. I've got double brown bears. I've got Sealy Court. I've got Lancers as well with the 3-powered knights. That's also really good with Joust.
Unicorn.
I've got plenty of targets. Yeah. Wasn't unhappy about having to run 2. And also just a good...
There's also the really like if you're in a bad situation and they drop like a massive bomb, you can always play Pufferfish and Joust and just 2-for-1 yourself to get rid of something very important on the board.
Yep.
And it's such a low mana cost combo that it probably works out.
Spin Attack. This was a pretty late pickup as well that I was really happy to see. You're talking like 10 pick onwards. It's around when I got the Ice Lance, and I was just like, oh, that's making the deck. I know what's making the deck. It's not necessarily a great card, but I was acutely aware that if I didn't pick up playables, that I would be playing Mage Slayers or something, right? I'll be playing some really bad cards, and I was just very happy to see some cards towards. This deck is a lot worse if I don't manage to pick up the Ice Lance and the Spin Attack really late, basically, and to some degree even the Entangled Terrain as well. So, but those two in particular, if you take those two out and you replace them with whatever else I could have replaced them with, it's definitely a worse deck for sure. So, was very happy to pick that up. I mean, not that I necessarily rate the card. Having said that, I have had it like do some pretty bad things against me in drafts as well. It can really just blow you out sometimes. And obviously, it's pretty good with random bits. It's decent with Pufferfish, right? Because you can just move it onto something that's tapped and spin attack it. Especially if you get multiple things with it like that, it's pretty good. Like, I don't know, it's not terrible for generally, and this deck probably is a little bit better than the average deck for it as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Interestingly, if you've got a Lance, does it strike everything for it? Like, does it strike everything for +1 or only one thing?
Gonna have to reread Lance exactly. It's
an interesting one.
This unit deals +1 damage and strikes first, and then the Lance. Right. Next strike, and that's a strike. Yeah, so it would use the Lance power and then break.
Okay, so it doesn't do them all at the same time. It's doing them sequentially.
Spin attack hits everything at the same time. So
yeah, so it hits everything for +1 then.
Yeah,
and then breaks. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so it's even better with Lance tokens. I don't know. It's just I wasn't unhappy to run this. I was very happy to see it because I was just I knew that because as you should do, by the way. Like, I had counted up how many cards I needed for the spellbook, right? Like, how many playables I needed. So, and I knew what I would have to play if I didn't get them. So, I was like, I knew how much of an upgrade this was going to be over what I would have otherwise been playing if I didn't get it. That's part of why I was so happy with the Ice Lance and the Spin Attack.
This theme will come up massively when we do my Gothic draft as well, by the way.
Okay.
Too many sites. And exactly what you said, right? Where you count up how many spells you need to play, like get out of the last pack sort of thing. I had that come up as well. So
you should do that with the sites as well, by the way, to know if you've sort of like... It's a bit different with the sites because you can still play the vanilla ones, right, to make it up, but you should still sort of know...
Well, you still need to know for these sites so that you don't go draft too many sites, right? Because as soon as you start drafting like 13 or 14 sites, you like get into a very weird position, right? Where you have good things to play, but you just don't play them, sort of thing. So
yeah, and normally you pick at least some of those sites over pretty decent spells that would have been an upgrade for your deck as well. So
yeah,
like I think it's just a combination of being sort of when you review the picks, you're not really just reviewing them. You're trying to like.
It's work out what you need to get from the next pack.
You're building the deck in your head about like what it might look like and what you ideally want to get from the packs, and if you know you're probably going to want to run whatever it is 5 Earth sites, let's say for argument's sake, or 6 or whatever it is, and you've only got 2 that you've drafted. So if you know you're going to want to play 5 or 6 and you've only drafted 2, then drafting an Earth site that's doing something decent has like extra value because you know you're definitely going to play it, right? It's like a definite upgrade. Whereas if you know that you're only going to play 5, but you've already drafted 5, then everyone that you draft is basically bumping out another one that you've already drafted, right? So
yes, yep.
You just got to factor all of that in. So it's definitely when you get that minute or whatever it is to review your picks, this is what you should be thinking about, pretty much. These types of things.
Yeah.
Stone Rain. This was not as... It was 6th pick, 7th pick, I think, in pack 2, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't rate this card at all. I think it's pretty strong.
I was fine to take it. I was happy with it. Like, I like it. I think it, like you said, I think it's pretty strong. I knew it was better than average in my deck because 1, I was Earth, but 2, like, I was pretty low curve, so I definitely could be in a position where I'm happy to
tap draw.
Yeah, it's a combination of pretty low curve, potentially needing to dig for a fire threshold in particular and draw a bunch of sites up, maybe a water threshold as well. So potentially need to dig for thresholds to draw sites. Got a Leprechaun that draws a site. Pretty low curve. There's a bunch of reasons why not only might I end up with a few sites in hand, but it would have sort of like naturally happened even without the Stone Rain, if that makes sense, in the deck or in your hand.
Yeah.
So, and then once you factor in that you might also have a Stone Rain in hand, it would and you've already built up a few in hand. At that point, you can easily move up to, up to 4 damage, up to 5 damage if you need, rather than not having any, then having something like a problem you need to solve, and then you got to start building up to that many sites. So I don't know. It was really fine to take this, and this is almost certainly going to be in the deck.
And super importantly, it always does at least 1 damage, right? So it's always super good for killing on death's door, because you can still just walk around and do it. Yep. So it's one of the best cards, I think, for killing on death's door in general. In AL, just in AL. Obviously, Beta has some incredibly high powered picks for doing that, but overall, I think Stone Rain is right up there as like a very solid pick. Like, you're probably going to take a Brown Bears over it in general, but it's still like a very good card. And if you're playing Earth, it's always going to end up in there.
It gets more value as well, the more chance there is that your deck creates like locked up board states as well, because there's more chance that they're going to end up with multiple minions in the same spot. So, and more chance as well that if you take out everything in one spot, from that point you can completely blow them out as well, if you remove all their blockers from somewhere. So it's like, it's very good with stuff like Root Spider, Longbowman, Lance tokens. Like, it's just really good with just stuff generally that... Pufferfish as well. Just stuff that sort of locks up the board state. And I guess even as it turns out, Entangled Terrain as well. It's pretty good with. But that was just incidental. But yeah, I was... Most of these cards, as soon as I drafted them, and I think part of that, in the case of the spells, it's because I knew the whole way through the draft that I was very light on spell count, pretty much. And the part of the reason for that is because I don't know if it was weird. I don't know if you would say that I was drafting too many sites, because I think in the end it was a pretty good deck overall.
I think this is a really good deck.
So I think arguably I just got the balance right as well. Arguably, so, but I know around the sort of mid-range picks after the first 4 or so, and then, picks 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th type of thing, in both of the first 2 packs of Arthurian Legends, I was taking a lot of sites through that mid-range. So, I got to, we can go through the site. So, Babbling Brook, we're both just really big fans of it, aren't we?
Yep. Yeah, really good. Because even with like ranged units and stuff, right? Like, if you play that and then play it like in front of one of their units and you drop a Longbowman on it, there's almost no way they can kill it, because a lot of the time, even if they have like a projectile to kill it, they can't move their unit out of the way to shoot it or that sort of thing. And then you just you're basically forcing an untap with a Longbowman in front of their unit, and you're probably just going to get to kill it for free as well. So the even extra value of like disabling your own units on their turn is actually still fine. So even the potential drawback scenarios like that, that people probably think come up more than it is punishing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it creates a lot of possibility space, like you're saying. It's not just that, right? There's a lot of stuff like that, like different things that you can protect your own minions with it by effectively disabling them, kind of like what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Even if you didn't move in to attack something, you can also just you protect your own stuff from dying. You can, prevent damage from being hit. If you're in a race, you still get to hit them, but then they don't get to hit you back, type of thing. If you're on the back foot and you just need time, it can basically just buy your whole extra turn pretty easily. There's also sort of paths where you can remove stealth, which can be really important in this set as well, in particular.
Yeah. Sure.
It's really good. I don't know. It's just a very powerful, generally really powerful site. Bonfire. This was really late. This was like the last few picks. This one. I've basically just got this one as like almost for free. You could almost say. I don't mind this. There's generally lances floating about with it.
Yep.
So I'm like, just because you have them, they don't necessarily make your deck, but it's fine. It's a fine card. And just picking off a lance can be a pretty big deal sometimes. Pretty much.
And then there definitely comes up a scenario quite often where you actually pick off like a sword and shield with it or something, and potentially get back into a game.
Briar Patch, I think it's just pretty good.
Yep,
generally, it's really nice if you get it in front of your starting site as well. Just because it is like a high value spot, and you can just facilitate better trades and stuff. I mean, I was fine. Very happy to get it. 2 common villages. I just quite rate these. They're fine, and they're
it's very good.
Good they sort of change the way that you sort of play out your turns a little bit at the start, because you generally want to make the foot soldier with these if you can. Generally, right? So you can sort of change a bit how your opening turns unfold. But
they also get better the lower curve your deck is as well, because like it's very easy to squeeze them in on a turn and generate like 2 minions in a turn that can protect each other or double block, or just set up very strong board states.
And they're pretty good with lance tokens, because not only because they use them, but they can also protect the things that have them as well.
Yep.
So,
and they can also just like run in and get that 1 bit of chip damage, and then the lance, then the unit with the lance can like first strike something down as well without having to trade back, things like that.
And they can also break lance tokens of your opponent. I don't know. They're very good broadly, right? So they're good enough that you generally almost like you're willing to clunk up your start a little bit if you have them, just to get the foot soldiers.
Yep. And a big thing is most decks don't have ones really in general. Like there's a few that are pretty good, but this is generally a really good one drop basically, if you think about it that way. It's also probably a big reason why we rate the Robin so highly. It's because just being able to get around and deal with all these things for free is pretty impactful.
Yep. Forge, I mean, it's fine. I don't know how. It's obviously better if you have charge minions, I think. That's when it becomes really good. Yeah. But
it's also pretty good when you have villages, right? To be able to move the lance into a better spot, things like that.
Like the village as such, it's just optional, right? But the difference with the village, you generally want to get the foot soldier out of it. Whereas with the forge, it's just like if you're okay, right? If you just needed the mana to power up, power up brown bears or whatever, you're happy just to.
I think one thing that people really underrate with this card as well is just playing it on turn 1 and just leaving it on your avatar, and then the whole time your avatar, it's threatening to kill any 2-power unit as soon as you don't, as soon as you have an option to, we don't have to play a site for a turn or tap draw. You can sort of pick something off. It also brings up the scenario of just moving and giving your minion the lance, things like that. I don't know. I quite like this card. Yeah. I think I rate it a little bit higher than you, but like you're saying, it's not one of the ones when you sacrifice a village without making the guy, you feel pretty bad. But when you have to do it with a forge, you're like, yeah, that's okay. I'll just eat it.
Yep. Yeah, I quite rate it. It's just there's some decks where it's really good. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. The scenarios you're playing do make it a lot better.
Yeah. Another village. 2 Hunters Lodges. I got these pretty late-ish, and I think they're fine.
Yeah, they generally go fairly late, but I do think they're you're always happy to see them, and you're always going to play them. The only scenario where you don't play them is when you've overdrafted too many Earth sites, really, and you have and the rest of them are like villages or things like that. But yeah, I think more often than not, I would play this over a Briar Patch if I had too many sites. But that might not be true. It's pretty close, I think, between those two.
And there's just a lot of stealth stuff as well in Arthurian Legends, so the effect is really relevant. The pond had double bears and a unicorn, and that's
a pufferfish and a fox.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're gonna
and a pig.
Oh, and pigs matter.
And a root. You're probably not going to use it with a root spider, but you could.
Probably not. You're probably not using it with
really awkward draws where you can't play it at all.
And you're probably not using it for a pufferfish or a fox either, but you never know.
But, I've done that plenty, like, where you just sneak in a one drop off of a pond and, like, have, like, a perfect curve of, like, multiple, if you're playing, like, if you have your thresholds, you just, you jam down, your turn 3 is, like, a unicorn and a pufferfish or something. Like, that's still fine.
But this deck
generally it's not.
Has the prospect of a turn 2 unicorn, which is pretty good for limited.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like you might be in that situation where like you had a leprechaun on 2, you didn't have the pond, your leprechaun dies, you draw the pond, and then on turn 3, because you also didn't have the water for your fox on or your pufferfish on 1, then your turn 3 is like unicorn plus a pufferfish with like backup sort of thing. It's there's definitely scenarios that come up where you would go down that line, but yeah, more often than not, it's just for the ramp on your bears and your unicorn. But it does also help with the pigs quite a lot, just getting them down with that awkward threshold and things like that. Same for the unicorn.
And then double stream and get to the exact deck construction in a sec, but can quickly maybe go over the cards that were drafted that didn't play. The Lookout was one of those sites I was talking about that was in that sort of mid-range picks. And I just picked it up just in case. I ended up... There was nothing else in the pack that I was that happy about. And just in case I end up needing to play air. Because it's a very good site. That's the thing.
Yeah, we value this card really highly. It's probably better than almost any of the actual spells at Ordinary in air. Might even be true that it's better than all of them.
But I'm pretty sure it was... Then it was like... Got the Sir Gawain after. I'm pretty sure that was the order on my draft.
Yep.
I picked the Lookout, and then the very next pick, it was Sir Gawain. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not playing that Lookout. Pretty much.
It makes sense, right? Because it would have been pretty unlikely to pick the Lookout if you already had playing.
But whatever, like I said, there was nothing I was too happy about. But I was also drastically short on playables as well. Frisky Red Squirrel, I actually had a real thought about putting that in instead of the Entangled Terrain. And possibly it should have been in.
That was my thought. It's one of those
really...
But I think they both have like... I think the scenarios where the Frisky Red Squirrel is good is like... There's less of those than where the Entangled Terrain is good. Because I do think the Entangled Terrain in like the right spot, right, can be really impactful.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can go through. Most of these are pretty no-brainers. I mean, Mage Slayers are just bad. Not sure we have to quantify that exactly.
Yeah. I mean, because all the Spellcaster minions generally are pretty bad anyway.
Certainly the Ordinary and, like, exceptional ones. Like, the only one that I can really think of is, like, Morgana or maybe Merlin. Yeah. But even Merlin's not going to be that good in Limited. Basically just Morgana as far as
Morgana's got stealth as well, right? So you potentially don't even get to kill her before she does any of her stuff.
It's just really bad. And Morgana's unique. That's the thing in Limited, right? It's just really bad. Wall of Ice, just really bad. Wall of Brambles are just really bad. The air stuff, I wasn't playing air. Thankless Squire is really bad.
I wouldn't say really bad. I think it's okay, and so basically for me, the couple of cards to consider versus the Entangle, and even potentially the Fox, but probably not the Fox. Mainly the Entangle is the Finwife and the Thankless Squire. I think.
Sure.
Finwife with your. Yeah, well, I mean, we've already covered the Frisky Red Squirrel. I think the Squire is probably coming in more times over than the Squirrel, but I think the Fin Wife with your current site composition, I would have massively considered over the Entangled Terrain. But you do have, like, you've already got 17 minions, so you're not, like, short on minions. So I think the trick is probably even slightly better value than just having an extra random 2-power minion, especially when it's not, like, extremely easy to cast, but is fairly easy in this deck. So realistically, for me, it comes down to the Squire or the Entangled Terrain.
Sure.
And I think it's pretty close. Because the Squire, like, yeah, it's pretty bad, but it is...
It's always Entangled Terrain.
Yes. So you're comparing, like, apples to apples here with, like, them being bad, and they're both tricks as well. I think the fact that Entangled Terrain is probably even an easier trick to use than this one. It's also, you've already got other Lancers, right? So you potentially already have your Lance tricks sorted out. I don't know. I think the I actually don't hate the Entangled Terrain in general, but yeah, I think they're pretty close, and I wouldn't have been like, oh, you made a massive mistake if you played either one of them. I think they're both like about the same. So
that's definitely where they're the full cards anyway. Where you landed in the end, it was between a Frisky Red Squirrel, a Fin Wife, a Thankless Squire, and an Entangled Terrain, And I landed in the end of deciding that I would play the Entangled Terrain over the Thankless Squire in that. So then, and maybe that was an incorrect judgment, but that's where I landed. And then from there, it was just, would I play the Frisky Red Squirrel versus the Entangled Terrain or the Fin Wife? So I eliminated the Thankless Squire first on the basis that I would play the Entangled Terrain over it, and then I was judging between the other three.
I think one thing to consider with the Terrain versus the Squire is you do have 2 Longbowmen, so you potentially get into a good position where you can move your Longbowmen in, then play a Terrain that actually locks down your own Longbowmen and their unit, and then get like a free Longbowman shot. So there's a lot of different angles with Entangled Terrain that the Squire doesn't cover. But I would, maybe if you didn't have any knights, I probably would have valued the Squire a bit higher, because you also don't have any of the other Squires, right? So without the knights, you'd have no Lancers. Is that true, apart from the Forge? So I think in that scenario, I think the Squire is better, but yeah, you need the Lance tricks less in this deck than... And then there's also potential upsides on the Entangled Terrain as well, so...
And I think with the Frisky Red Squirrel, I mean, realistically, it's just you're not going to be happy to jam this on curve without getting the Genesis effect, if that's the idea, right? So you're effectively using it as a trick, and I just felt like the Entangle... Well, a couple of things. So one, I realised I had the Bonfire. So,
yep.
You know...
So even less value.
A bit of less value. Yeah, like potentially you've already dealt with the one problem that needed to be dealt with the whole game with the Bonfire, right? So, and it just felt like the Entangled Terrain is a much better, more versatile trick. Because another big difference with the Entangled Terrain versus the Red Squirrel is that the Red Squirrel kind of depends on your opponent more so, right? Well, one, they need to play the artifact.
Yep.
And it has to be carried, and they have to, like... Whereas the Entangled Terrain, you can position stuff and move stuff in such a way that you create a scenario where it's really good, basically, right?
So there's one interesting thing that could come up with the Squirrel that you might not have even really thought about, because it's pretty fringe, is like you're using a boulder during the game and then putting it under the ground so that they can't roll it back as well is also a pretty big factor. And then the fact that you actually have multiple borrowing units. Does it have to be a land site? Yeah, so you could even put it under a water site with the pufferfish. So you actually have multiple ways to like put it underground so they can't use it, and then later get into a position where you can bring it back up yourself.
Sure.
So there is this is one of those situations where Frisky Red Squirrel gets even a little bit of extra value. So potentially it still could have been the pick, and I think all three of them would probably have value.
Maybe we'll talk about the Fin Wife a bit, why it wasn't, because that maybe is the more interesting conversation. Because if this was, I don't know, a vanilla. If it just had an Earth threshold and it was 2 for 2 and did some useless
It would have
effect,
been in.
it would have been in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of all these cards, so
Alternatively, if it was a family, it would 100% be in.
Yeah. So I think we now get onto the more interesting conversation because it ties into the rest of the deck and the composition. Because effectively, and this is where maybe the more interesting conversation out of everything is, which is the site composition and why is there only 2 Earth sites?
And this is where
2 fire sites. And then if you engineer, and this is where potentially a bigger conversation happens. And part of the reason why it's not the Finwife is because I also knew that I could only have 4 water sites. Okay, I'll go through the go at it from the other angle because that may be easier, right? So if you do not play these Earth cards early, you lose. If you stumble on these thresholds, you just lose. You have to have an Earth threshold. And actually, you probably have to have 2 Earth thresholds early. So you had to play minimum 5 Earth threshold sites, I believe. It would be ridiculous to have played 4 with this deck. And I felt like...
I'm pretty happy with the 6 Earth.
Alright, I feel like 6 was the correct number, basically. Right? So if you have 6... From there, you have 6 other sites. Ignoring the fact that you could have gone to... This is one of those scenarios where maybe the correct decision was to go to 13 sites, by the way. But one of those exceptionally rare scenarios. But I'm pretty sure that 6 Earth is just the right number here. The correct number. Because of the deck composition. The question then basically becomes... Is it 3 water and 3 fire, or is it 4 and 2? And
which I come down on the side of the 3-3.
And I come down on the side of the 4-2 on the basis that because of the mulligan rule and sorcery. So if you don't have the play that requires the water site early, then you mulligan the water sites. If you draw a fire site in the opening hand, you have to keep it. If you draw both, you mulligan 1. If you draw 1, you have to keep it. So you're basically factoring it into the mulligans that if you get the fire, you got to keep it. If you get the water but you don't have any water plays, you have to mulligan it. If you're on the draw, you get the bonus of the scry. You're always going to basically be scrying the site here, because if whatever your opening hand is here, you're always going to want to scry the site anyways, because you basically want to go to water, fire, double earth, pretty much, right? Always. So if you go down the path of 3 and 3, you are cutting the Sealy Court, I believe. If you're playing 3 water sites, you're playing Sealy Court.
So one thing you're not factoring in at all in all of these things is you have a water family.
No, I'm factoring that in as well. But yeah, I do have a water family.
Yeah, no, that's what pushes me to think that you can actually get away with 3-3. Because, like you're saying, right, with if you can't play Earth cards, you're probably in a lot of trouble. The same does go for fire for a lot of the stuff. Because a lot of the water cards, you can get away with not playing. Like the Fox and the Pufferfish, like they're, I think, going to be less impactful than not playing the Joust and the Spin Attack, for the most part, I think. Whereas also, like a lot of the time when you play 6-3-3, you do just end up with
if you're talking about in the first 1 or 2 or 3 turns, it's way more impactful to not be able to play.
I'm talking about.
And if you're talking about in the long game,
saying in the first. Right. No, but in the first 1 or 2 or 3 turns, you're doing it with your Earth stuff, right? And then once you've, because a lot of your Earth stuff is really big, right? You got the unicorns and the 2 bears. So as soon as you get one of those down, if you play a Joust, it's going to be so much more impactful than playing any of your water cards. And the ability to not play any of those is really bad for you, I think.
But but you can factor this into the mulligan, is what I'm saying. And So you always basically have to mulligan. Or if you don't have the fire, you have to mulligan at least 2 sites in the mulligan. You have to. And you always, no matter what 3 sites are in your opening hand, you're always going to have to scry a side if you're on the draw. And once you've established that framework, the odds of not having a fire site by the time that you would need one under all the scenarios that you are talking about is very slim. So it's more of a, if you do it this way, the main thing that you have to bear in mind here is that you have to do that. You've compromised your mulligans to some degree in that you have to mulligan the sites. You have to mulligan 2 sites, at least. And generally it's always going to be 2 because you have to also keep an earth site. So the only time that there's no scenario where you're mulliganing any amount of sites realistically. When you don't draw a fire, let's be clear here. When you draw a fire site in the opening hand, it's all different. But if you don't draw a fire site in the opening hand, you're always mulliganing exactly 2 sites no matter what. Because even if you drew 3 water sites, you're going to mulligan 2 of them. You're going to want to keep one. You can't mulligan all 3.
Yep. And if you have 1 earth, 2 water, you're saying mulligan 2 water? When you have the fire spells and not the water spells, right? That's what you're saying?
Yep.
So then you can realistically never cast your Sealy Court, and you're probably...
Well, hold on a second. You still got... One, I played multiple games where I went through every single site in the deck. In the top 8 anyway, I think. At least 1. But you've still got 2 water sites and the family as well. So you've still got 3 water thresholds.
Which I think... so the situation that you're saying with that... drawing all these sites, the one that I definitely saw that you did that... should have been a loss with different play, and the fact that you didn't have 3 would have actually completely cost you that game, right? So
possibly. So the game you're talking about in particular, the 2 fire sites were the very 2 last sites.
Yes.
The odds of that are phenomenally slim.
Yes.
Let me just work out exactly what they are, so we know. They're 1 in 132. So it's materially like it's a literally a fraction of a single percentage of a chance that would happen. And on top of that, I had 3 of the 5 cards with a fire threshold in my hand, which propels that into the 1 in a million type of thing, because realistically that wouldn't have even mattered that they were the last 2 sites if I didn't draw that many of the fire spells and I had just drawn other cards instead. So yeah, and obviously still won the game though, but I'm not sure when. On the one hand, you should have lost, I guess. If I'm not sure what the framing of there is, but you mean it's possible that.
Well, I think we'll get into it when they're
playing the game, but yeah,
you definitely lose that game.
So
if it was played differently.
Sure, but I mean that's true of nearly every game. But yes, there's very few games where
there's also I think another thing to consider outside of just the raw percentages, right? Is your fire cards are better than your water cards, so not casting your fire cards is more impactful, as well. And you also have 5 water thresholded card. Basically you have 5 water threshold and 2 fire threshold when you consider the family. It just seems unnecessary to put yourself into that situation. For me, anyway, I just would have played 3-3 and potentially, I don't know, maybe I would have played differently as well on that assumption, but I don't know, yeah. It feels like you just pushed too far on water for me, anyway. I do understand all the things.
So, but just to go back, so Mulligan rule is, and mathematics matters here. And it's a very interesting way that the tournament played out, because literally the thing that's a 1 in whatever he said, 1 in 132 chance that it could happen did happen. and then the other two games, the maths just worked out, somewhere between normal, a bit bad, not particularly bad, quite terribly bad, but not the one combined with having drawn 3 of these 5 fire cards early, you're literally talking into the realms of 1 in, I don't know, many tens or hundreds or thousands or even millions at that point. Very exceptionally unlikely. So the important
the
part
fact
here
that that happens even with 3 sites, 1 in every 2 or 3 drafts. I don't know. Maybe it's just me on the lucky on end, but yeah, that I don't know. It's happened to me so many times that.
Well, you have to mulligan.
The bottom 3,
I reiterate, you got to mulligan
even
around
with
it, though. Yeah.
Yep, I do. I understand all the mulligan situations, like you're saying, but I'm just saying, the amount of times that the bottom 3, even when I do 6-3-3, right, the bottom 3 will be the same 3 threshold, happens in extraordinary amounts. So as soon as you're taking it into even higher numbers with the 2, I don't know, it just seems unnecessary to me to add that extra risk factor.
But it's not extra risk, this is what I'm saying. You're de-risking it because not de-risk might be a bit of a stretch too far. You're saying you're increasing the risk, but I'm saying you mulligan the water sites. You mulliganing the sites if you don't get the fire site to get towards the fire sites. Is what I'm saying. As part of the deck construction plan.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that, then it changes all the math significantly, basically. You have to do it. Might be able to come up with a better way to convey this, but if you draw the fire site, okay, we'll come at it from the other angle. Let's say you draw it in your opening hand, right? You have 3 fire sites in the deck, and you draw 1 in your opening hand, right?
Sure.
Are you keeping it?
Yes.
Okay. And then potentially you then proceed to draw the next 2 fire sites, never get to the second earth, and lose the game. So by having 3 fire sites, you're also increasing. You're doing a couple of other things here. You're increasing the chances that you're going to get more fire thresholds, obviously, and that in turn is decreasing the chances that you're going to get other thresholds, including earth, which is really important here. And you can't mitigate around that very well, because if you only have 3 fire sites, say only, but in this specific deck, if you have 3 fire sites, you draw 1 in the opening hand, you got to keep it. If there's only 2 fire sites in the deck and you draw 1 in your opening hand, you got to keep it. But there's only 1 more to draw in the whole rest of the deck. So there's less chance of drawing 1 more, and there's 0 chance of drawing 2 more, because there's only 1 more in the deck. So it's definitely a difference in how we construct decks, though, and it's going to be obvious to anyone listening to this.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, there's also, you have to consider being on the play as well. In the scenario, because then you don't get the opportunity to even get down those extra sites a lot of the time, because you're, effectively with the scry roll, you're two cards less. I don't know. There's also the situation of, if you have that 1 fire site, the other 2 can just be earth, as well. If it's 1, 1, and 1, you're probably okay. Because even if you do draw the next, say you're only really punished by drawing a few of your earth cards, but you can still run off of 1 earth for quite a while. Unless you draw all of your double earths, and then you still have the tap draws to get you out of it. I don't know. Yeah, clearly we just think very differently on this.
And in the end, it's a difficult one, because on the one hand, the first match of the top 8, literally this all comes to the fore in a way, right? Because the 2 sites in the deck are the 2 fire sites. And then in the semi-final and the final, the mathematics of this just loosely work out normal, and I think they were both very comfortable wins. The semi-final and the final, from memory. We'll review them, see if that's See if that's not the case.
I can't even remember the semi because I think my semi lasted longer than yours, so I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, okay. So we'll get there, but in the decision making stuff.
Yeah, yours is definitely faster. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, that's where it landed as such on that you are mulliganing 2 sites, and you are, if you don't draw a fire site, to be clear here, and that you basically have to mulligan the water sites, and the exception is if you drew, a water thing in your opening hand that you want to keep, that is important to play early, and so on. And that's basically just Verdant Knight, Sir Gawain, and Slut Fox. And even then, maybe you're okay with just mulliganing the Fox, depending on the rest of the hand. So the only 2 that you really want to sort of stretch that for potentially is the Verdant Knight and the Gawain, if that makes sense. So in other words, you're mulliganing the water site, even if you have the Ice Lance in your opening hand, potentially. So, but the odds of all this coming up is pretty fringe because there's so few of all of these cards. So,
yeah. There's another thing that we haven't really talked about, but probably not as applicable to this deck in general, is the fact that if you're forcing yourself to mulligan 2 sites every turn, for the most part, you also then can't, you only ever get to mulligan 1 spell, which this deck probably doesn't matter as much because you probably not, you're very unlikely to have just a handful of really expensive stuff that you're just going to get run over with, right? But in some decks, not being able to mulligan your spells as well really hurts.
Yep, definitely does. But I was aware of that, though.
Yeah, which would have been a different scenario, but I just figured, for people watching, they probably would, want to.
But in that scenario, I just got to go 3 and 3, like you're saying. I just got to go 3 water, 3 fire. In the scenario where you can't afford to do what I'm talking about with the mulligan with the sites, you don't have that luxury. Let's put it that way, because you have to be able to mulligan the spells. In that scenario, it probably is just 3 and 3. I don't know. It's also possible. I don't know. It's a bit weird. How different it gets quickly. Probably the Sealy Court's in the deck anyway.
I think you have to play the Sealy Court.
Yeah, but mostly that's just because there's nothing else to play.
Yeah, exactly right.
If you had a family or something, you probably just put the family instead.
You could have played the Thankless Squire instead of the Sealy Court, and then stripped out a stream for a fire threshold, which realistically might have been the right call. Because then it makes your mulligans a lot cleaner. It makes the power level of your deck obviously comes down quite a bit. But it's still, if you ever get the Thankless Squire early, you get to mulligan it. It opens up your mulligans for your spells quite a bit, so you can actually be fairly, think you're fairly reasonably going to get there on your thresholds, but you get to mulligan very aggressively with your spells instead, and just maybe not even mulligan for curve, but mulligan for raw power. Send away a few of the cards that are the iffy cards, and then you're not going to get them, sort of thing. So
yeah, there's not a whole lot of iffy cards in this deck, but yes.
Well, I mean, so basically, if you go the 6-3-3, you cut out the Sealy, and then you're just on single threshold everything except for Earth. Like you're saying, right? So the pufferfish and the fox, if you don't have a water threshold, you just send them back instead of going for your water threshold, sort of thing. And then you potentially get just the power curve. It gives you a higher chance to get to the power curve of boss troll into unicorn into brown bears. Or even just leprechaun into longbowman into a knight / a brown bears, any kind of these versions of good 2, 3, 4, because you have not a lot of 2s, right? So you'd be mulliganing for your 2-drop in a lot of the time, because any one of your 3s is just a good dude to jam pretty much. Outside of the pigs is he's just a generically good guy, but all your 3s are very strong. and if you get your 2 into 3 into 4, you probably just win those games against just about anybody because they're so powerful. Seems hard to come back from that. So that's also a consideration. That's also another reason to consider the Finwife over the Sealy Court or the Entangled Terrain, right? Just to try and get that extra 2, because I only just noticed that you only have the 3 2-drops. So, but it's very heavy on the 3s to make up for that fact. But yeah, then as soon as you go to 3 water thresholds, it's a bit harder to play the Finwife. And I do think the Sealy Court for the Squire, because like you say, right, there's not that many iffy cards, so the power level of this deck in general is pretty high. So there's like a decent chance that you can sacrifice some of the power to get to increase the consistency a little bit.
Yeah,
there's another line.
And there's definitely one where you lean that way more than me a little bit, I think. As in, more you'll... Whatever, you want to find that right balance between more power and consistency, but I think you're a little bit
I generally go for the lower ceiling, right, and the higher floor, I suppose is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Compared to you.
I mean, yeah, it's like I don't know, it's a tough balancing act on the whole.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, because I'm definitely a big, like, you know, these families are incredible, mostly just because their floor is so high. So I think it's, yeah, I mean, and part of it as well is I literally spent, I don't know, 1 point something years of the past 1.5 years playing 4 element decks pretty much. So having like a pretty good idea how far you can push all of these things, and generally, I don't know if get away with it is the right framing here, but have it sort of play out both, you know, in terms of like mathematically and in practice as well, I guess you could say. So, because like the thing with the fire stuff, like this stuff is pretty good when you have something to play it on, but it's not very good at all when you don't. And it's, you know, if you don't get that fire sight on curve, it doesn't matter that much. It doesn't also matter that much for the water either. So I think it's more just, it matters a lot for the earth. The more we talk about this, at least, it's pretty clear to me that you wanted 6 earth regardless. You did not want to cut that to 5. I think that potentially creates it very awkward, because it ties back to that thing where, you know, if you only have 5 earth sites, it's possible, like, you know, 4 of the last 5 sites or whatever are all earth as well.
Yeah.
So you just never get to the second one.
I think not getting to the second earth is way more impactful than never having water or never having fire.
Yeah. I think that was sort of pretty
key. The more we go over this, though, the more I think the Sealy Court is actually wrong. And it should have been the Squire.
Yep, potentially.
Just makes a lot of everything easier and more streamlined, I think. Because I think the same goes for both cards, right? If they're in your opening hand, you have to mulligan them regardless of whatever the rest of the deck is.
The Squire or the Sealy Court, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Exactly. Because the Squire is just bad, so you'd be happy to mulligan that. But the Sealy Court, you know you're never casting it. Like with a lot of 6s, you can potentially keep them in your hand if they're like bomb enough, and you know as soon as you get to 6 sites, you're casting them. You can get to 6 sites with this deck and still not be guaranteed that you can cast it, is a big thing. It's pretty likely, but you would mulligan that regardless, right? So I think, yeah, I don't know. Oh, the other thing to consider is if you cut a 6 for a 5, it also helps you with like just not needing to go up as high on your sights as well.
Yep.
Which is good for Stone Rain. It's just good for general being able... Because also another thing to consider is the lower your curve, the more you get to move around instead of just tap draw, and like you start getting to attack and things like that for extra chip damage. And if you know you're never going to 6, that's a big difference than having one card in your deck that costs 5, right? Like having that jump of 2+2 mana for one of the cards in your deck, because you can get to 4 sights and then just start attacking, and then eventually draw the Squire and go, all right, I'll tap draw this turn and tap draw and tap play next turn. The one flip side to that is a lot of your sites have quite a bit of value, so you don't actually mind tap drawing, tap playing quite a bit, or even just tap drawing, tap drawing, tap drawing. That's another thing. If you cut down a mana as well, you can potentially, you don't have to go like you get to 4 and you start tap drawing and then just don't tap play until you need the 5th mana. So you get to save all of your utility sites for actual utility, you know, like your Hunter's Lodges, your Babbling Brook, your Bonfire. You don't just have even your Forge in some scenarios. Like you don't just have to jam them like for the threshold / mana in suboptimal situations. So there's a lot of different things to consider outside of just thresholds specifically, I think, as well.
Yep. And just holding all these sites is good for Stone Rain.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. But
I mean, even if you had like one even remotely playable card less, like if it was, maybe it's even the Frisker Red Squirrel, right? So you don't even have to ever go past 4. And then all of a sudden the whole thing changes.
It's possible under that mentality or whatever, you're just putting the Finwife in as well.
Yeah, but then off of the 3, I was like, maybe, but yeah. Overall, definitely different things to... A lot of different ways to...
I mean, Silly Court makes the spin attack and the joust and stuff quite a bit better as well. Like, having an extra target for those. The Leprechaun also just generally makes all of this a bit easier as well.
Yep.
The fact that you can always play it on curve and that you draw a sight when it dies, like it just... All of this is alleviated a little bit, whatever way you go. Because there's just more access to more sites. So...
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, in the end, I'm not... I definitely think for me, with this, it's more... If that's the path, that's the path. Like, for me, that's the... I think if you want to go +1 fire and -1 water, then the knock-on impact of that is that you're taking out the Sealy Court, basically. And then you're putting in something... That's a Thangless Squire or a Frisker Red Squirrel or a Finwife, basically. And
just reevaluating Mage Slayer at the moment just to see.
Potentially, you're just okay to pay 3 for 2. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, exactly right. Like maybe you just want that slightly bigger body than the Squirrel, but if there's anything even remote, cause I suppose Wicked Witch is a decent one to get, but. Yeah, like overall, it's like maybe you get to pick off a Sisters of Avalon or like a Apprentice Wizard or something, but that's about it in general.
And then maybe it's all very. I mean,
there's no. Yeah, no, I don't think it would.
But
I was just thinking about Naples. Yeah, no, you go.
Oh, I was just saying. In any case, maybe it was for the best because then a massive conversation happened here that. Is potentially a little bit fringe, but it's it is a different deck in nature if it's like +1 Wasteland, -1 Stream, -1 Silly Court, and then adding in whatever
something
a Frisker Red Squirrel or whatever instead, right? Like it's quite a different deck.
Trying to work out if there's a world where you would actually play Wall of Brambles even. My gut feeling is no, but I'm just having a quick little look through the deck, see if there's anything that would make it actually alright.
But for me...
it's actually good with Joust as well, right? Because you have double Joust, so there's even a world where you could have got away with Wall of Brambles as like the 24th card over the Sealy Court if you didn't want to play the Squire. But I probably would have landed on Squire. Maybe the Squirrel because of all the boulder things we were talking about earlier as well.
But this is the difference, basically, I think, between us in the end, where, like, I'm more okay to end up with this deck, basically, because I did, right? And I chose to do it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you would have chosen to go a different way with this same draft pool.
I mean, I think gut feeling is I probably would have played the same deck, but 6-3-3. Maybe I wouldn't have played the Sealy. Maybe I just would have played the Finwife and just be like, yeah, it's fine. Maybe I can't cast it on 2, but I can cast it on 4 or 5. That's okay. With something else, like.
But yeah, I think I don't know. For me, maybe it's worth not now, but just maybe I'll edit this. I don't know, put some math on the screen, effectively around, because I keep saying the math, but maybe show the math, so to speak. Okay, so I'm actually have gone off separately. I'm editing this in afterwards. I've gone off and done some of the math. I thought I would just edit it in, for interest sakes, because I don't know if Jarrod sees it the way he sees it. I kind of see it the way I see it, but without the numbers, it's very hard to really bring anything much together. So, for me, the main thing here is that the difference between having the 4 water sites and the 2 earth sites and being able, it enables you to mulligan the water sites more aggressively. The main consequence of that is that you have more chance of getting the earth thresholds early. That's the main benefit. So, and then the downside of that is you have basically less chance of getting the fire threshold early, pretty much. So, we'll just go into the numbers as to why that is the case. So, there are 2 different compositions here: 6 earth, 4 water, 2 fire versus 6, 3, and 3. I've coded a computer simulation to work all of this out with some fixed mulligan rules, just to illustrate it. Obviously, there's a bit more nuance to all of it than this, but just to sort of keep it manageable, let's say. So, I'll go explain what the mulligan rules are. So basically the idea here is that each deck has a fixed mulligan, the fixed thing you're going to do with the sites and the mulligan. And then you can see after you draw 4, 5, after you've drawn up to 3, 4, 5, and 6 sites, what are the chances that you're going to have at least however many of each threshold, basically. So in the case of the deck that I did run, which was 6 earth, 4 water, 2 fire, the main difference with the mulligans is that you are afforded the ability to freely mulligan water sites. In the other composition, 6, 3, and 3, you are not afforded that. So if you have if your starting hand is, we'll go through them. If your starting hand is 1 water, 2 fire sites, you mulligan 1 fire, 1 water. Again, the reason for that is because that's why you have the 4 water, is to be able to mulligan the water here. If you do not have them, you have to keep it. So the mulligan instead, if you have 0 earth, 1 water, 2 fire, which is this one here, in the 6-3-3 setup, you would instead be mulliganing 1 fire. You don't get to mulligan that water site. So in the case of 0 earth, 2 water, and 1 fire, you are mulliganing both the water sites. In the case of 3 water sites, you mulligan 2 of them. In the case of an earth and 2 fire, you mulligan 1 fire. In the case of 1 of each, you keep them. In the case of 1 earth, 2 water, you mulligan the 2 water. In the case of 2 earth and 1 fire, you mulligan 1 earth. In the case of 2 earth and 1 water, you mulligan an earth and the water. And in the case of 3 earth, you mulligan 2 earth. Now, in the other deck, 6, 3, and 3, all the scenarios are basically that don't have water are basically the same. Pretty sure they're just exactly the same. The main difference is that there is 1 new scenario that's possible, 3 fire, which isn't possible if you don't have 2 fire in the deck, obviously. In that case, you would be mulliganing 2 fire. So the differences, we'll just go through the ones with the water sites because they're the ones that are different. So in the case of 1 water, 2 fire, you're now mulliganing only 1 fire instead of a water and a fire. In the case of 2 water and a fire, you're now mulliganing 1 water instead of both the water sites. In the case of 3 water sites, in both cases you're mulliganing 2 of them. In the case of 1 earth and 2 water, you are mulliganing 1 water, whereas before you would have been mulliganing both. In the case of 2 earth and 1 water, you are mulliganing 1 earth, and before you be mulliganing an earth and a water. So it's worth just bearing in mind that just because you can aggressively mulligan the water sites, if you happen to have the Sly Fox or whatever, if you happen to have the water sites where you want them early, just because you can mulligan them aggressively doesn't mean that you have to. So you can keep them. So you are afforded the ability to aggressively mulligan in the water sites here. Doesn't mean that you have to as well. So in this setup, we are saying you always will, but you actually don't always have to. In the case of all of it, obviously it's going to depend on your starting hand and whatnot, but on the most part, I believe if you can, this is generally going to be your mulligans, generally speaking, for this one. If you have the early water stuff, you're generally going to potentially keep the water sites and not mulligan them so aggressively. So there's going to be more variance in these mulligans versus these ones. But yeah, ultimately, you've got to go with something in order to get some numbers out the other side of it. So if you look across here, the main, I've marked up in green the ones where each scenario results in better chances of various outcomes. The double water here, I just put that in yellow because it is more chance you'll end up with it at the 6-3-3 at 3 and 4 sides, but it doesn't matter because the only card in the deck that has double water is the Sealy Court, and here, and that costs 6 mana. So actually this scenario doesn't matter either. So sorry, messed that up. It's here. This one doesn't actually matter either. So the only scenario that matters is when you get to 6 sides, pretty much, for that. So if we go through it, the main big reason to do the 6-4-2 is because you have significantly more chance of getting the early earth threshold. So if you could look at 3 sites, you have 99.2 versus 97.2% chance of getting at least 1 earth threshold, which is very significant when you basically automatically lose if you don't get it. And the other big difference here is the double earth. It's 50 versus 33, 78 versus 68, 92 versus 87. So at 3, 4, and 5 sites, if you happen to have Autumn Unicorn, Brown Bears, either of the Brown Bears, the Pigs of the Sonder, potentially, these are a bit more fringe. They're going to less likely matter, but obviously they still have the double earth. Those are the main ones, and Sir Gawain. Obviously he's got the other threshold. So the big ones here are just the Unicorn, the Pigs, and the double Brown Bears. This is why. This is one of the big ones here, is the double earth. The double earth threshold difference here, it's way more chance of stumbling on that, or way more chance of getting that, depending on however you want to look at it, in the 6-4-2 setup versus a 6-3-3 setup. There's more chance of getting the single water threshold, sort of. This comes with a caveat, because yes, with these fixed mulligan rules, but if that threshold matters because of your starting hand, so when it matters, there's actually going to be way more chance with the 6-4-2 setup. So this has more chance of giving you the water threshold when it doesn't matter, but this one's going to give you more chance of having it when it does matter. And so that's just worth bearing in mind. Obviously, because there's 4 water sites versus 3, there's obviously more chance of having one. You can choose to not mulligan it. This is assuming you're always bottoming these water sites. So there's some variance there. Obviously, if you do keep it, then you didn't mulligan it, and it's affecting all the odds of everything. But it's more dynamic, is what I'm sort of saying. So when you have the mulligans, you can make them more dynamic at 6-4-2 than 6-3-3, basically. So in the case of wanting to get the double water, it's going to matter. You've got more chance of hitting that when it matters with the 6-4-2. In the case of at least 1 fire, there's just more chance of hitting it in the 6-3-3. That's just true. In the case of getting at least one of each, there is more chance in the 6-3-3 of that being true. In the case of getting at least 2 earth, 1 water, 1 fire, which is a configuration that matters for every card in your deck except for Sealy Court, there's more chance of getting that with the 6-3-3. And in the case of actually getting at least 2 earth, 2 water, and 1 fire, so being able to cast everything including Sealy Court, there's more chance in the 6-4-2. So there's pros and cons here, basically. I think in summary though, what you're basically saying is there is more chance of hitting your fire threshold if you have one more firesight. It's not exactly that counterintuitive, but there is more chance of hitting there's more chance of hitting your earth, there's more chance of hitting your double earth right at the beginning of the game. There's more chance of also, even though this has less chance of hitting your water compared to here, you obviously have more chance of hitting your water because there's 4 water sites. The difference here is that we're assuming you always mulligan them because you don't have any cards in your starting hand that don't need the water. If you happen to have a card that needs the water, there's way more chance of having the water site in your hand at the start here. So, this is like pretty much just counterintuitive. In reality, this just has more chance of hitting your waters here as well. So when you look at this, basically, there's more chance of hitting your earth, there's more chance of hitting your water, there's more chance of hitting your double water when it matters, and then there's more chance of hitting your fire, basically, in the 6-3-3. And something that is just not really apparent in the conversation that I had with Jarrod in just now is actually the main reason to do this is to significantly prop up your chances of hitting the earth thresholds at the start, because that is the main thing that matters, at least that I felt mattered. Now, there's a debate there. I think ultimately in the end 6-3-3 could be a perfectly legitimate choice, but not with this deck. If you want to go 6-3-3, I believe it's incorrect with this deck. If you want to go 6-3-3, you can't play the Sealy Court. That's got to go. So at that point, you're getting rid of a Sealy Court. It's probably a Thankless Squire, maybe, that's coming in, as we were discussing. So something like that. So you are, you're basically taking out a Stream for a Wasteland and a Sealy Court for a Thankless Squire, and then you sort of, you have this other risk profile where you actually have a very real chance of stumbling on your double earth thresholds at the beginning of the game as well. I think that's just that's the trade-off here ultimately. And I think, the main point of doing this is just to show that it's when you're making these types of changes, you're adjusting the risk profile for the deck. At the end of the day, it's about what you are comfortable with and how you want to play and whatnot. And I personally chose, and I think there's a debate as to whether it's the right approach or not, but in the end, in the moment, without being able to calculate all these numbers exactly, I personally felt hitting those double earth thresholds, hitting the earth thresholds, both single right at the start and double early, was really important for this deck, and that I really would just rather play the Sealy Court than the Thankless Squire, and that as a combination of factors, so the increase in power level between the Sealy Court versus the Thankless Squire, combined with having more chance of not stumbling at the start on your earth thresholds, that was better than going with the Thankless Squire instead of the Sealy Court with lower power level and having an increased chance of stumbling on your earth thresholds early, but a decreased chance of not stumbling on your fire thresholds. That's basically the trade-off, and that's what I ultimately decided to go with, and I'm still comfortable. I still think that was the right decision, ultimately, and maybe that's just a difference in playstyle between Jarrod and myself, but I will say that I had been playing 4 element decks nearly every fortnightly draft for the best part of the last year, and I had a very good feel for sort of being able to not stumble and cast everything in decks. So a lot of intuition in there about being able to pull something like this off. But yeah, I think in the end, I hope this helps, and we'll get back into the conversation between Jarrod and myself. Cheers. This is also a pretty good Sealy Court deck as well, if it's in play.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but pretty good. Like, it's definitely way lower on the curve than most decks. There's a very good chance you're going to get to sort of draw 2, play 2 each turn with this.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about you're probably not going to have time to do both before you have to work, like all the videos before you have to work. So
I think not.
We can do, if you want to do finals, and then if we get around to doing the other ones next week, you can release them as like bonus videos or whatever, or we can go.
All right, cool, makes sense. Yeah,
it's probably because this conversation probably makes more sense to go straight into the finals.
Yeah,
like have like both the meaty ones in the one video.
All right, cool. So yeah, with that said, I think there's anything more to say about the deck, Jarrod, for now. We'll move into we'll do a review of the final, and then if people want to see it, just let us know in the comments, and we'll look to put together the semi-final and the quarter-final, I guess, the other 2 top 8 matches, because they were recorded as well. But
I think interestingly, the best one to actually go over would be the quarters, because that's the one that was probably the most controversial and interesting match, I guess. But the finals is generally, more important.
The finals are
the finals, and then
yeah. Plus, that other one's really like a much longer game, because obviously we've talked about it a bit, but it involves basically like a very sort of stuck board state, me needing to draw through all of my deck and to find this fire sites and whatever. So, all right, we'll look at the final now. So let's get into that. All right, so we're joining the action. Do you want to play it at regular speed, do you reckon, or should we speed it up?
Don't think it matters. Like, because we'll be pausing when we need to.
Yeah.
I think we'll have enough to talk about in general.
Speed. I roll a 17. I'll do it a bit faster. You can see it's shaking a bit. That's because our younger lad who plays, he was, how he crawls up onto the table when he plays?
Yeah.
So he was like constantly sort of crawling up onto the table and it was like wobbling it a bit. Like just because he can't, he has to lean heavily on the table to be able to see what's going on. So needs a taller chair or something. But yeah, so it's just shaking quite a bit. As you can see, the deck box on the right there. It's like there's a miniature earthquake going on. So yeah, sorry about that. So I think my starting hand here is a village, a pond. I'll just pause it for a second. So it was a village. Oh, so the dice roll. I think I rolled 17, and then Luke, who's my opponent, he rolled 18, right?
Yep.
And he's chosen to go first. And my starting hand is village, Hunter's Lodge, pond, unicorn, pigs of the Sonder, the pufferfish, and verdant knight. I'm pretty sure that's my opening hand here. And despite
banger of an opening hand,
despite everything that I just said about needing to mulligan 2 generally to go into the fire threshold, I just took I've got a really good opening hand philosophy here, and I'm gonna just keep it basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I've scried the top site because I know I need to dig for the fire threshold.
Interestingly enough, absolutely not punished for that decision as well. With all the mathematic mulliganing decision you had, all your argument, and then absolutely not punished in this game for it because there's a fire threshold on top.
Well, hold on, I scried the site, still put it to the bottom because it wasn't fire. And the reality is, if you...
Oh, I thought you put it on top. Didn't you? Didn't. Maybe I was...
Am I backing up already? Let's watch the replay.
I think so. I looked to the other screen for a moment, but...
I didn't back up enough. Okay. Alright.
I mean,
action replay on the... I mean, it doesn't make much difference whether it's the top one and you put it back on top or not.
Yeah.
In regards to... I mean, the reality is that, that there's a very high percentage chance that one of the first, can work the odds out, but I'm pretty sure... I'll just say, pretty sure I put this one on bottom. It's on bottom.
Underneath,
yeah. So if you say here, that's 3 sites, put one on bottom, that's 4. The next one is 5. I'll work out the odds, I'll put them on screen, but you got a really high percentage chance that one of the first 5 sites will be a fire threshold, even if you only got 2 fire threshold sites in the deck. It's very high probability. Way more than 50% chance.
That would be less than 50, right?
No, way over.
2 in 12?
No, okay. So
are you talking about each particular draw? Are you going to add all those up? Is that what you're saying? Is the chances?
So I'm saying that the odds that one of the first 5 sites out of 12 is a fire threshold is really high if there's 2 fire thresholds in the deck. I put the site to the bottom because it wasn't the fire site. Straight up. And turn 1, done the village play. My opponent played, Aqueduct, in case people can't see the cards. They're on their second turn. They played Valley. That's a Shellycoat. So you're saying that probably those 2 sites should have been the other way around if you had a Riptide in hand? Is that what you're saying?
I thought there might have been a Riptide, but I think it's a Shameless Squire when I'm re-seeing the hand flipped around here. So it doesn't actually matter. But I don't know if he had one in his deck, because I can't remember if he played one against me or not. But yeah, if he has Riptide in his deck, even just presenting Riptide, it should be the other way around.
You can see he's got a Brown Bears, a Squire. He's got actually a pretty good hand, really.
Yeah.
As well. So I'm mulling over basically whether I'm drawing at the start of my turn. Maybe there's a bit of a talking point here. It would obviously know if we could know exactly what I had in hand, but I was pretty sure I'm going to want to go straight to 4 sites. But I'm also pretty sure I'm going to play the pond this turn.
I think realistically, whatever spell you drew this turn wouldn't have changed what your next 2 turns would have been, because I think the best plays in your deck is probably turn 2 Unicorn, turn 3 Knight anyway.
Yeah, so I think the card that I drew was Sir Gawain, though. So, and then because of that, I was aware how powerful he was, and that I want that fire site.
Yep.
Basically, so that's why I'm drawing a site, in case it's not a fire site, so that I can draw another site to get the fire site, basically. Or to, dig closer to it. So... But basically only having those 2 fire sites changes the way you play, pretty much. In quite a few ways, I think. Which, like you're saying, maybe that's not worth it, but... this is a pretty good start for Limited, though, I think.
Yeah.
Because I've also got the blocker, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
even if he has, tricks/shenanigans, he can't actually... if he has the overpower here and you didn't have the blocker, you'd be absolutely blown out. Whereas with the blocker, you're absolutely fine.
I think I'm mulling it over quickly if I'm going to move it up, but I've realised basically what you said, and it's just not worth the risk, basically.
I think the other thing to discuss on the whether or not you're drawing a sight on your turn versus a spell is, yes, you're trying to dig for the thresholds, but you do have to consider the difference between just drawing a spell there just to get like extra card advantage, like a spell advantage, right? Versus just playing a slower game and having extra tap draws versus just drawing sights for turn. And maybe with the way your hand is, you just want to rush to 4 anyway.
I think you did, but yeah, because I think you basically got...
So you're to jump, like, basically, I've seen the turn 4, and it was a 3 and a 1. So you did definitely have the option to go for tap draws versus just playing more cards. And, like, there's definitely a school of thought of, like, maybe you just want to only tap draw versus going for pure curve, but it's basically tempo versus card advantage, and it's different in every game, and every board state, and every deck. So, can't really know for sure, but if this is definitely one of the few decks that you can just sit at 3 because you had so many good 3 drops. So it is worth just like pointing out, basically. As well.
I think so, too. Yeah, but it was really just the Gawain.
The thresholds, yeah. But yeah, when
not
you
even
consider
just the thresholds, that particular card is like a bomb, basically.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
and that's like a good reason to go to 4. But my next point was once you consider the thresholds for this deck in particular, drawing an extra sight is not only just like a tempo for mana advantage, it's also you potentially need to draw more sights in general just to get to the actual threshold so you can even cast your spells. So it's not always the biggest sacrifice to draw the extra sight.
And also a lot of the sights in this deck do something, so I would be forced to like play the Hunter's Lodge, right, without removing stealth from anything.
Yeah.
Next turn, like maybe you would anyways, because you would rather do that than burn the other sight, whatever it was, but maybe not, right?
But yeah, especially because he's water and you're also earth water, you don't have heaps of ways of dealing with a Sly Fox. So you sort of want to keep your Hunter's Lodge for that if it becomes a thing. Hey, you can see my feet.
there you are. Judging away.
Yep, someone had to.
Not sure what's going on here.
I think did we rewind a little bit to the point where you were working out if this is what your turn was, and then I think Luke's is working his turn out now.
Oh yeah, it's Luke's turn. Yeah.
So stream, cat.
He could have played it on my pond, but that's probably not great.
I think
he had the Shellycoat to defend, correct. Right? That's okay.
But yeah, the way this turn actually worked out, he probably should have played it on yours, so they didn't have to move his Shellycoat, and then all of a sudden, you can't really attack properly. Maybe it does just get punished by the Knight Lance, but I think there's a good chance you're willing to trade the Shellycoat for the Lance, but he has the Squire, so you don't want to do that. So I think, yeah, overall, it's like, it depends on what you're playing around as to what the better play is. I probably would have moved the Shellycoat to the same side as the cat, though, not back one. I probably would have moved it across to the cat, so that it can always team up with the cat to fight whatever your next play is, especially when you have the Squire. And there's always the possibility of he plays a sight there, and then you can just start attacking as well with the Shellycoat. Because generally, when you're thinking about moving multiple units to the same site, it's what are you going to get blown out by that does things?
Did I just not draw for my turn? Just going back. I think I might have just not drawn at the start of my turn.
I suppose this is good having an instant replay. Let's have a look.
Oh no, I did. Okay. It's like what? It's like I would have felt like such a That would have been pretty funny if I didn't draw at the start of my turn.
It's interesting how many people from wherever we've played have always have that like where they just don't draw for the start of their turn, and I don't know, it's like the best part of the turn, so I'm always keen to do it. But yeah, it's also I think because we think about it so much at the start of each turn, we basically never forget what to draw.
Yeah,
because,
that's why I was so surprised if I did it, because I was like, I don't even remember the last time that I wouldn't have done that. Like it's just automatic, right? Just untap and what are you drawing? Like, make sure you think about it. Like even if it's obvious, still give it a little bit of thought just in case, right? Like don't to not become automatic, right? Just to make sure that you always think about it, even if it's just for 2 seconds. And even like just to keep the habit, like because so many, like you're saying, so many people just like I don't know. They also don't even untap, right? They don't untap and they don't draw. They just start doing stuff.
Not untapping, and then people that don't tap to play their sites stuff with their avatar or tap their avatar, it can get pretty frustrating at times because then they're like, oh wait, did I use my avatar this turn? It's like, well, there's a pretty easy way to work that out. If you just actually, do what it says on the card. But yeah.
So Luke's at 16 now. That's...
Yeah. So this is an interesting turn, right? Because if you... with the lance change going back to what it was, it potentially changes this turn a bit as well. Like you wouldn't get to make this attack under the old rules.
Yep.
But now that it's changed back, it's really impactful. Whereas before, you probably would have just had to have kept the lance on either the knight or the unicorn, and then just sat back and waited. And then, I mean, maybe you don't get as blown out by Shameless Squire if you do, but.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Certainly, definitely a change.
Big change. I mean, I mean, realistically, you probably because it has a bit of a chain reaction at that point, right? Like, because you have to leave the lance on the knight, probably, right? In reality, so that it can block for the unicorn.
Oh, you mean if you're
going to attack? Yeah, so you can attack with the unicorn.
If
but
you
then
are
they have the choice to trade straight away,
yeah.
right? And that's not necessarily bad for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Shellycoat's pretty good into you're not unhappy about that trade.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you do that attack, then you have to leave the Verdant Knight on tap with the lance, right? It has to be able to defend for it.
Yes.
And then probably you have to leave the Foot Soldier on tap at the back to defend for the Verdant Knight as well at that point.
Probably.
So it's quite different looking board state. Or, like you're saying, you just don't attack with the unicorn and then it's starting to build into a stalemate already, almost, right?
Yeah.
After having such an aggressive looking sort of high tempo start. But that's the difference, right, between being on the play as well. Like, if you get to do turn 2 unicorn on the pawns, on the play.
And to be fair, this is possibly one of the best starts you can have in an AL beta draft.
For both players almost as well.
No, just for any deck, right? A turn 2 unicorn with a turn 3 knight is potentially and you still had the Foot Soldier as well, right? Like that's an incredible start.
He's got a Brown Bears, Excalibur, the Squire, and the Sight. Is that right?
I think so, but I'm not 100%. I mean, I'm not sure when he drew the Sight, but if it was this turn, I suppose that probably would have been wrong, but I think this is also in the wrong spot, right? Maybe not. No, because you want to pick up because you move up the Shellycoat to pick up the lance, I think, is when you do this. So you give it to the cat, attack, force, and then the cat can pick up the other lance anyway, yeah. No, that's fine. Man, I really like... I think this is the best Squire. Like, I know we've had this discussion back and forth between whether or not it's this or the charge one. I like this one much more.
Obviously, I think you just have to defend here, I think.
Well, it's basically you're sacrificing one of the things, so you may as well. Because the unicorn's just better than the Shellycoat. The only reason not to would be if you want the positioning, right? But I think with how the board state is about to turn out, you definitely just want the unicorn now.
Is that just a mistake there? You should have just picked it up with the cat.
So if you pick it up with the cat, yeah, absolutely. Because if you pick it up with the cat, then you have to send in the foot soldier. He still has the squire or the shellycoat if he doesn't move it to take out to save the lance, and then the unicorn's going to have like all the biggest issue trying to deal with this current board state. So I think there's just trying to work out different plays with the squire positioning, but I think it always has to be there so that you get the lance. Yeah, I'd say I think the cat always gets it. I'm just trying to work out if the shellycoat moves up as well, because if you don't move up the shellycoat, then the unicorn gets to free kill it and then die for free. No, because then you can throw in the foot soldier, but then that trades with the squire, and then the unicorn, then the cat would kill the unicorn for free but be on your starting site. So I think moving up is probably correct. And then you bonfire the lance. Yep. So yeah, I think you do just want it on the cat with all the stuff that's in play, but not punished at the end of the day because you had the bonfire anyway. I assume you drew.
I'd love to see my hand here to see what.
I didn't see what you drew this turn because I was working out all the possibilities.
Yeah, I can't. I wish I could remember better. Oh, you could see my hand so good. Do I actually have Sir Gawain in there or not?
There's a cave trolls.
Do I have?
I think the Sir Gawain is the second card from the right.
Yeah. Okay.
But it might not. Oh, yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so I was
it's
right.
Definitely cave trolls in the middle. Trolls. It's pigs on the right. Cave trolls in the middle. There's a
pufferfish in there. And the pufferfish, is there one more as well? Is that it? No, there's only 4, right?
I think there's 5 if you unpause it.
Oh yeah, there's 5. So there's one more.
2, yeah. Okay. Which is something. But yeah.
So I think I'm mulling over. If I play Gawain, obviously, then he just it doesn't like. I want a better. I sort of want a more value out of it, basically, because it can't really.
So I think something you could have done here was attack the shellycoat so you can still be on the same spot, and then you get to play the pigs and the pufferfish in the middle. Is that better? Because now with the unicorn going over there, now the foot soldier can't ever block for it. Whereas if you choose to attack the shellycoat, he still does the block with the 1 power minion. Then you're still in front, and then you can threaten the unicorn with the pufferfish and protect the pufferfish from the shellycoat with your pigs and your foot soldier. And you can't be rolling Boulder this turn because he's only got 3 sites. Oh, I suppose you could play it to the shellycoat, yeah. So Boulder would be a concern, but it's pretty hard to know what cards to play around in a state like this. And you already have a Boulder, so you're probably not expecting 2 Boulders in 8 packs. So I probably would have left the unicorn on that starting spot. Oh, in the middle, sorry. Not the starting spot.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the reason I didn't was because I mulled it over. I was thinking about it. I didn't just instantly do it. So,
yeah. One other thing to consider is on this site, the pufferfish can be buried.
Yeah,
versus,
and the autumn unicorn can't, and the autumn unicorn can't, which is where I landed with my thought process. Okay. So, rightly or wrongly, I moved it because of Barry, and then also was umming and ahhing because.
So I think the other thing to consider outside of Barry / Drown is if everything is in the middle. Your pigs gets to threaten the shellycoat as well. So if he doesn't attack, then everything on the next turn changes massively as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then potentially you just get into a stalemate with everybody playing everything in the middle, just waiting for a blowout effect. And because you have Rolling Boulder in your deck, that's potentially another reason that you probably do want to try and keep everything in the middle. Because you can like get into a stalemate where everything's in the middle, and then on the boulder turn, you just shift everything to the side and then throw the boulder down the middle and win the game.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you have the boulder in hand, that's a pretty easy line to just see straight up. But yeah, interesting. One of the great things about Sorcery, right? Every game plays out differently, and every game that does play out can be played out differently, and so
yeah, maybe you don't even need to. I mean, the berry effects are a thing a little bit, but not even that big.
I mean, berries as much of a thing as drown is. Right? If you're a Water Earth, you're just playing both of those cards, whatever you draft. And you're more likely to play against Drown because less people will pick Drown. So there's a good chance the Water Earth player didn't even get the berry.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure.
And if you're playing around Cave-In, he'd have to move all of his units anyway, so then everything's tapped, and you're probably happy in that situation.
I mean, if I'm in this type of deck, I'm more happy. Yeah, it's not. I'm not sure. The berry effects feel like an auto include, but the submerge effects don't. But yeah.
Yes and no. I think you pretty much always still play Drown in most of these decks, but yeah, you are right. It's a little bit more likely that you would be playing a berry, but I also think it's a lot less likely you would have a berry in your deck versus get to pick that in the draft versus a Drown.
I think it's Luke's turn at the moment.
Yeah, I think he plays a bear off onto the new Valley location.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's probably not the right spot.
I'm trying to think where else it might be because he probably doesn't want to put it where the unicorn is, I'm thinking.
You might.
But that's the alternative, right? You're not going to want to stack it up with the other two, surely.
I mean, maybe you do. Like, it's pretty... Because where it is, it's still bad against Earthquake. It's only not bad against Cave-In, right? Or Boulder. And maybe if he... I don't think he knew you had the Boulder in your deck anyway, but... I think without that anyway, we'll talk about the first spot, right, where it could be on the unicorn. If it's there, you're still protected from the pufferfish, basically. But if you have removal for the Shellycoat, anything that would kill the Shellycoat would probably kill either of those bigger minions anyway. So I don't think that from your you do have fire now as well, so maybe that changes things a little bit. I suppose if you have another Firesight and Minor Explosion, that'd be pretty bad to have all your units in the middle, because you'd lose one of the fours to the Foot Soldier. But if it's all the way to the side with the Unicorn, you're fairly protected from the Pufferfish, like with the Shellycoat. And at worst, you're going to lose one of your 4-power minions to the Pufferfish, but that's probably going to happen at some point anyway if you lose the Shellycoat. And then it will still cost the Unicorn to get rid of the other one anyway. So I think you're probably in a fine spot to play it over on the Unicorn spot.
Yeah.
Because even if there's... don't even know how you're going to get the Lance over there. I mean, you could play like a charge minion, give it a Lance and try and attack across. But then you still have, all the stuff to protect from that anyway. You'd probably want the Lance on the Pufferfish regardless. So yeah, I don't know.
It does feel pretty awkward where it is, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where it's not played, right? There's also an argument for the site should have been on the other side of the Unicorn, and you play the Brown Bears over there, or next to your avatar.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Behind the stream. Yeah.
I think
that has the downside, though, that I can play a Lance, right? Move it up, give it to the Unicorn, and then just strike it, and he can't defend, though.
Yeah, but so does the one that's far right. So...
Yeah, so
I think realistically you're probably playing the Bears on the Unicorn, but where you play that other site is also up for debate. Like maybe it doesn't have to be up front, but maybe you're trying to put pressure so you can have another attacking spot like on the next turn if you're planning on playing a site there. But yeah, I think the Bears should never be there basically. Because the way it is at the moment, it sort of feels like you just skipped your turn.
Yeah. I think it's an important just a thing to point out here. It's sort of generally happening anyway. I just noticed it, so I pointed out specifically, which is that I worked out what I want to draw at the beginning of my turn as a spell, and then I immediately sort of identified that I'm not going to want to move my avatar this turn, basically. And, you know, there's some other bits. Maybe you want to signal certain spells or whatever, but I've got so many sites that do things in this deck, so I tap and drew the side before I did other stuff in case it changes my turn structure.
Yep.
So, because a lot of people will play out their whole turn, then realize their avatar is untapped, and then maybe tap it at the end of their turn if they remember to draw a side before they finish. So, but oftentimes you'll want to actually draw the side at the start.
Yeah, I do think the that thing where you said like potentially where you want to present cards that like you might have to move your avatar for as well.
Yep.
Matters. Like, so basically, a lot of the time, you potentially want to do your like a decent amount of your attacks before you do it, but it changes on different scenarios and what you're trying to present. I think the biggest thing that you don't want to do though is change what you do between each turn. So you're like on one turn you're presenting, oh, I can move in firebolts, whereas the next turn you just tap and draw straight away, saying, oh, I never had it, and then they know for the rest of the game, sort of thing. So you sort of want to either be consistent or be so wildly erratic that they can't read you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any case, right, it's more just the fundamental point here is that it's the type of thing you should be thinking about, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than
and most of the time it should be
it at all.
Like the situation where you want to really present that that extra card is in a situation where you know on the next turn or even the next couple of turns, there's no site that you can tap draw that is going to change your next couple of turns. So you don't need that information, those sort of things. But if there are sites that are going to potentially change your next couple of turns and you need to know before you do your attacks, you just have to do it. And you don't have the option to present. Yeah.
And there's definitely, There's definitely sites in this deck that would potentially change things or plan around. The disable one, it could be pretty big in this type of board state. Maybe.
Absolutely.
So,
like if you drop the disable site on 12, like this whole game changes, right? Like all of a sudden he can't do anything next turn, and you get in a free 7 damage, and then you get to move. Like, you know, you'd move your foot soldier away potentially straight away, like, and then do it, and then and play another minion over onto the right side, and then all of a sudden that bear is never seeing any action in the whole game. And then, like, you're in such a good spot where they can't really attack and they can't really defend properly, and then they just took 7 and all your stuff's in a better position. That's a massive tempo swing.
Yep.
And knowing about those things a turn ahead matters a lot. Whether you choose to race or how you choose to set up, all those sort of things. So,
definitely the big piece of advice broadly, though, is just... just to...
knowledge is power.
yeah, just... whatever, like, tap it, draw the side, or don't tap it, or whatever, but you should have thought about it, basically, and sometimes it's correct to do it one way, sometimes it's correct to do the other, but you should be thinking about that. And I'm sure, and I know for a fact, which when you watch people play, a lot of people don't play that way, basically. They get to the end of their turn and realise that their avatar is untapped, so they'll tap and draw a side, which is obviously a lot better than not realising it and not doing it. But
I think a big thing I've noticed is a lot of people that do exactly what you're saying, right, where they don't think about to tap early, where they just don't think about it, are the same people who just draw a spell at the start of their turn or a side at the start of the turn no matter what. Like, they don't really think about all the different options they have. It sort of lines up to be the same people, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, so if that's you need to think more, pretty much. You need to just, well, like I was saying before, even if you're pretty sure that you want to do one, you should just procedurally stop and think just for 2 seconds what you draw at the start of your turn, just to create the habit of thinking at the start of every turn, right? So
yeah, I think that's fair.
So I think here I basically realised that I can get in a lot of damage this turn, pretty much.
I think you might have just made a mistake. Maybe not. Yeah. So basically, by playing the Gwain and then attacking, I'm assuming attack.
Yeah, doing it. I'm pretty sure I'm just doing it to get the damage in. This is my opponent
so
just asking to see what it does.
it means that he can kill your Gwaine for like very easily here, but it does cost him a Shelly Coat for free. So because basically you double block here, right, and it kills the Gwaine straight away,
Yeah,
and then
and
he
I'll draw
loses
a
the
card.
cat.
Yeah,
And you draw a card.
Yeah,
and then he
I'll-
loses the Shelly Coat for free, takes 1 damage.
I factored all that in, and I decided it was worth
yeah,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
So basically,
he
I would...
definitely should have done it. Basically, is what I'm trying to get towards, because the Gwaine is a really hard card to deal with.
Yep.
So I think if you can get to that point, you just have to do it, because if you're trying to attack units when you have multiple blockers here, right? Like say it. I don't know if you attack with the pigs yet, but if this is all you do and you attack with the unicorn and then just pass, he is in a nightmare position to ever get the Gwaine off the board now.
Yep. Yeah, unless he's got the answer in hand.
Yeah.
Which I assume he did, by the way, because he didn't
Yeah.
defend. So my assumption when I did this was that he'll double block. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll attack,
Yeah.
the Gwaine will die, but I'll get to draw a card.
And you'll kill the cat.
I'll kill the
and
cat,
then you get to kill,
and then the
you
pigs get to kill the Shelly Coat.
Yeah.
And then I get
Yeah.
to either get him for 1 damage with the pufferfish or leave it or whatever, untap to defend or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it probably just goes in for the damage, right? So, but I basically
Yeah.
worked out at that point, I'm losing Gwaine, but drawing a card, and I'm killing the cat and the Shelly Coat.
Yeah.
So he loses cat and Shelly Coat, I draw a card and get him,
So it's
and also
basically
get him
a
1
2
damage.
for nothing. Yeah, 2 for nothing. And
Well,
yeah, I think
two,
well, it is,
2 for nothing, yeah.
because it costs you no card and you get 2
Yeah.
of his, right? So
And I get a
think,
damage
yeah,
in as well. And it just,
I think that is worth it from your side.
and that was the one I was saying I wanted to get some value out of Gawain when I played it. This is, I
Yeah.
figured this was enough value. This was good value. And
Yeah, I
when
think
he-
with the way your board state is, just getting the value is probably good enough as well, especially since he was on the play, so he's already down a card. Like, as soon as you're up 3 cards for free, it's, yeah, pretty reasonable spot to be in. This is just another thing that's really punishing the Bears being in Africa. They're not ever being able to interact, because if the Bears is where the unicorn is, this whole chain changes quite a bit. You might not even get to play Gwaine. You might just have to keep jamming more minions. There's a world where every one of these units is in the center of the board as well. With the Gwaine off to the side, yeah. But we probably can't go down every one of lines for every possible thing that's existed, decision points.
So I'm assuming that he has an answer to Gawain to kill it, which is why he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And he's on 12 life now, so he's taken 2 hits from the unicorn. So my thinking to move that out the way is that
You don't want to be forced into...
I don't want to be forced into defending it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to give it up for nothing.
And I think if he attacks with the Lugboard Cat, you're fine to just send in the Pufferfish anyway, all by itself, so that Gwaine doesn't die, that dies, and you don't want to be forced to the Shelly Coat getting just any attack into that foot soldier makes you have to do something with Gwaine, right? Because it potentially lets him kill Gwaine. Even if you block with the pigs, the Gwaine still dies. I think I definitely would have moved the foot soldier. And I think that's better than moving a back one as well. Because at the end of the day, if it dies to a cave-in, you're like, sure, whatever. It probably wasn't going to get enough done in the back line anyway. Because there's a good chance if it goes to the back line, maybe you have to move it over to the Hunter's Lodge on the turn after, and then it's never doing anything for the rest of the game. I'm fine. I think it's a good spot to move it to.
Definitely this looks very different though if that Bears is
In the
on
middle,
that stream.
or on the unicorn, yep, on the stream for sure.
Like, I think worse.
I mean, there's a good chance you...
The
it's
Gwaine
an-
doesn't
like,
even
it's
get
an
played
actual-
that turn, I think.
it's an actual game, right? If that's over there,
Yeah.
as opposed to a bit of a... It's not like a massive blowout, but there's a couple of turns I remember from just watching it like live that Luke maybe didn't play optimally. I'll put it that way.
So it didn't.
And yeah, I think that the
I
bears.
didn't attack with the pigs, which was the next thing. Because if I attack now with the pigs, he just blocks with the cat.
Yeah.
And then all I've got left to attack is with the pufferfish. So it just didn't, didn't make any sense to it.
Yeah, which then gets blocked by the Shellycoat.
I was very much expecting, that he would double block.
Blocks.
Yeah. I just sort of took it as a given when I played it. But I was pretty happy with that outcome in the end. Even if he kills the Gawain with some removal spell, I still have some stuff to defend the unicorn.
Yep.
Even if he has whatever it is, berry or whatever for Gawain, right? It's a pretty decent board state for me still. It's not terrible.
Bit of a rough board state if he has cave in, but
yeah, yep. It's interesting that he played that there. I wonder what
yeah,
else.
that definitely should not have been back there. I think the Swindler Troop's in the wrong spot too. I sort of remembered from.
So he comes in for that. So now.
Yeah. So basically, the Swindler Troop being there means that the unicorn gets to kill it for free next turn.
Yeah. Whereas if
pretty
it's
bad
with the Shellycoat, if it's one across, then you can defend with the bears. You can defend with the Shellycoat.
Yep. There's all sorts of things you can do. It also makes the pufferfish a lot harder to deal with. And then if the bears was, not over there as well. I'm assuming he played the site there because he thought he wanted to play he thought that was a good spot to play it. But in reality, if he plays the lodge on 12 and plays the Swindler Troop in the correct spot of
12.
What's that? 8. 12 is the left of your avatar and up one, next to the pond and the other Hunter's Lodge. Side 12.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you can move the bears up to be in an attacking position.
Yeah, that makes
as opposed
sense.
to just being tapped in a defensive position.
Yeah, I think it's quite a different looking board state. Does mean because
Yeah.
basically all the Swindler Troop doing is absorbing 4 damage, which feels pretty bad at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't play the site there, the unicorn has nowhere to attack for free either.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play the site forward and move up the bears, it's nowhere near the pufferfish. Is a big reason that you want it attacking down over there. That's probably what I would have done. I think the thought is probably he potentially thinks he needs the bears to try and attack into that spot to get the Excalibur back. If he loses the Excalibur, maybe that's the thinking, or maybe he's just thinking he's behind, so he doesn't want to race. He's got a couple of spells in hand as well, so yeah.
It does feel like that Swindler Troop's just supposed to be on that valley though, with everything else.
Absolutely, yeah. It can't be where it is, and even if you don't play the site forward, it shouldn't be where it is. It should be on the other side of the board, so that he can't just get in a free attack with the unicorn and because there's a good chance that if the troop is where the valley is on the valley, you can't attack this turn.
Yeah, it's pretty awkward.
Yeah, it certainly changes everything.
What are you doing? I mean, you can't even attack. It's hard to say. Yeah, without playing anything.
The other thing, the other thing is, if the Swindler Troop is in the middle, you potentially don't even move your bears, so that your bears can protect for the unicorn attacking into your Shellycoat or Swindler Troop, and then you can just trade off the bears for the unicorn, and then you're in a really good board position, right? You have a cat with an Excalibur, you have a Swindler Troop and a Shellycoat in the middle. The Shellycoat can always block the pufferfish, and then the Swindler Troop can just block the piggies. And then you're in a board state where it's a fairly clear board, except you have a Shellycoat and a cat, and they have a pufferfish and a foot soldier token. And that's...
I mean, that's the other thing that it does, right? Is you also... What happens, which is you gave up the Swindle Troop wasn't actually given up for free in the end. You gave up the Shellycoat for free instead, whereas if if they were together, that's such a bad attack.
Yeah, correct.
And now, basically, the pufferfish gets the Swindler Troop.
Yep. Did you have you had a lance here, right? I think.
And then I throw... Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it was a lance, yep. That's what I thought.
So yeah, threw the foot soldier at the cat.
Not a bad memory considering this game happened like 6 days ago. Just sort of remembering it from watching.
And then the lancer's extra damage. It's 4 strikes first. Does the final 4 damage to the 5-powered cat. Pick up Excalibur, and now it's like this is the first time in the game where you just like, and actually potentially, I mean, I don't know what this. I mean, it might even because this at this point it's like, I mean, obviously the game there's still a bit to the game.
Probably far ahead.
This is really where the game was lost, and this exact turn, right? And I just wonder.
Well, actually, if you wind back, the game was lost on the bear playing on the valley on turn 4, on turn 5 in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
that's when the game was actually
lost. If the bear is more central and the swing industry, both of those are played differently. Like, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily. Well, it doesn't play out this way. That's for sure. It plays out very differently. But
he got because he didn't do those things, he got insanely blown out, and you can't recover from this spot pretty much without I don't know, Earthquake or Nova or some kind of effect like that. And Earthquake's pretty awkward because there's water sites everywhere, and there's no Nova because he does it on fire, so... But yeah, this turn was an absolute savaging.
So now even if he gets a lance and blows out my unicorn, or even, it's not even that terrible for me.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has to just blow out your unicorn. He can't get the Excalibur back anyway, because you could just block. And interestingly, you tapped late, but you were playing a site, so I guess it didn't matter. I'm assuming there's a 2-drop coming down. That's what's I think it's a leprechaun, maybe, from memory.
Yeah, and I just put it there to be able to defend the unicorn.
Yep. Which makes complete sense, because if he just tries to attack the leprechaun, you can double block and just it's not the best trade, but you get a slot, you get rid of his bears, you're happy enough with it. It's not a bad trade for you. It's not a great trade for him either. So it's whatever happens, you're reasonably happy with this situation.
Yeah,
there's an argument of the Briar Patch should be in the middle. I wonder
Rolling Boulder.
Yeah,
It's sort of what I just wanted to keep everything more central. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's completely
Rightly
fair.
or wrongly, don't know. But I thought at this point, I kind of just figured I'm so far ahead that I lose by getting blown out, pretty much. And that's one thing. So the leprechaun's there because I could have put the leprechaun with the Yellow Knight and sort of tried to protect the Excalibur, but I don't really care too much about him playing a trick and killing something with the bears, basically. Yeah. So if I lose the Yellow Knight because of that, don't care. If I lose the Leprechaun, I really don't care. And as long as that's the turn, he does some fancy trick and kills the Leprechaun or a Yellow Knight, I'm in a really good spot still, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And this is probably the most... Luke got a bit of a... context, Luke's been one of my best mate for 20 years, so he definitely got a bit of a verbal bashing after this turn because he played it quite poorly.
Which one? The one that he's about to do, or the one that he just did?
Yeah, this one. The last one was bad, but this one's even worse.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of but we have that sort of relationship where we can just rip into each other, and we're fine with it. This is if he didn't lose it last turn, he certainly lost it this turn. And to be fair, all of his options this turn were really bad, but I think he actually picked the worst out of every single option. I saw his hand at this point. It was... He had a Ratanus Titan and a Jewel, and he drew the Deliria, the 7-drop giant from, Fomorians. So he couldn't actually play a minion because he had I don't think he had a sight, because he had the option to go to just draw sights for the next 2 turns so that he can play Jewel this turn and then play Ratanus Titan next turn and hopefully get a big blowout. Because basically if he plays Jewel this turn, you Jewel the Leprechaun, you trade with the Unicorn, you play a sight, you draw a sight next turn, you play another sight, And then he hopes that you just attacked with the Vanguard Knight into where the piggies are, and you kept them together so that you can potentially drop the Excalibur and give it to the Knights next turn. Then he plays a Titan, kills your whole board, picks up the Excalibur, and then just has to deal with whatever you played on your turn. That is one line. The line of drawing a spell, tap, draw a sight, and go up that way. If you hit anything that is basically Fomorians for sure, like anything that you can't cast this turn specifically, or you get really far behind and you potentially just can't come back. But drawing 2 sights is obviously not drawing 2 spells, so you're basically banking on the fact you have to get an insane Returner's Titan.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you probably lose anyway. But he had like the worst of both worlds, basically, in drawing the other 7-drop, being 2 sights away from being able to cast either, being in an insanely bad position where he has to play the jewel this turn and be left with no board. And what happens is an absolute disaster of what he actually plays. Let's roll it.
All right. And you said Vanguard Knight in there somewhere, but you meant Yellow Knight.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
And I was just thinking as well with this bribe, the other thing, because there's a couple of things. So there was the Rolling Boulder thing, but the other thing as well is just that I'm happy with the setup of the... I'm happy with all the lanes and everything, just generally now. Like, there's a little box of connecting sites, and I've got everything, like, everything with something able to defend with it, right? Like, it's very difficult, in limited at least, for me to get blown out from this state.
Yeah.
So...
There's one argument for the site where it is then for that is you potentially could have played it on 19.
Yep.
So that you have another, like, just to keep it even more streamlined into lanes. Or you play it in 16, all the way where it's not going to impact anything. But I'd say 19 is the better spot.
Yeah, and I think I just had the, whatever you want to call it, lost aversion because it was Briar Patch. I was like, I didn't want it all the way there. Nothing will ever go there. Maybe. I mean, also it's good that I had the option to play 10 myself to launch from there as well. But yeah, but broadly I didn't play it in 12 specifically because I was just very tighter. Like, I'm just happy with the board state, so I don't want to.
Another reason for 19 is it lets you move there and then play a boulder on yourself the following turn and throw a boulder down that line.
Yeah.
I think there might be a fair bit of thinking time on Luke's turn here. Yeah. So that's the first thing. He tried to duel nearby instead of adjacent. Which, if you could have done that, I don't even think you would do it anyway. And then, this is the worst attack possible on the board. Because you just let it happen, right? They trade, like, basically you're trading a bears for a pigs, and then the Excalibur gets left on the ground for the potential gold unit to go and pick up.
And I know that he's got a jewel as well.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now, because he didn't play a jewel and he's got 2 7-drops in hand, he never gets to play jewel for the rest of the game. So it's a dead card, and you just have an insane amount of stuff on board. My first thought of when he made that attack was he didn't think the pigs was going to kill it. But he did know that, so that really threw off my whole turn, right? Because even if you are going to make that attack, which is pretty bad, like the worst, it's just worse than attacking the unicorn. You still play the jewel, right, to get rid of the unit on board, effectively.
Yeah, that was just bad. I think you just had to clear out. You just had to jewel. You had to get rid of the Yellow Knight and the Leprechaun.
You're so far behind. You can't try and go for like a value play with the jewel later. Especially when you don't even have another minion you can cast in hand. So you're probably never going to get to play a big unit and play Jewel. So you just have to burn the card, even though it's for like a Leprechaun, which is bad value, but it lets you kill the Unicorn with your bears.
Yeah.
The other option is just to throw it straight at the Unicorn, and then the Leprechaun blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, he also could have just attacked the Leprechaun, potentially, but then I'll probably just let the Leprechaun die. But if I don't, I could double block, and then you save the jewel anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's still a way better outcome. Like, you're way better off to kill the Leprechaun and the Knight than the pigs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically,
Versus
right.
not doing anything for your whole turn,
Yeah.
and then never playing Jewel for the whole game.
But that's
Which
probably better.
from this board state, you can even work out that you're not going to play Jewel for the rest of the game with your hand on the board state.
Yeah.
So you just have to burn it.
But that's probably the correct play, is to just attack the leprechaun, right? And see if I double block. Then duel the leprechaun and attack the yellow knight.
No, I don't think so. Because if you double block,
Was it duel? It was duel, right?
It was Jewel.
Oh, so he just duels the leprechaun and then kills the unicorn, right?
The unicorn. Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good turn.
That was the play I thought. I thought that's basically what you end up with.
That's just the best turn, yeah.
Yeah.
And notice at the start of my turn, I like draw the spell and then tap draw the side really fast, so to speak, because I know that, you got nothing on board at this point, right? So
yeah,
I don't need to trick any potential blocks or sort of set up for like posing for some spell or anything. I think that's the third hit that he's taken, so he's now on 8, I think.
Sounds about right.
3 hits with a unicorn. Yeah, 3 hits with that turn 2 pond unicorn.
Yeah.
Takes 3 more. He's now on 5. Pick up Excalibur. Takes 2 more. He's now on 3.
I can't remember what you did here, but I don't think it even matters because you just have stuff, right? I think, Cave Troll's Boss Troll. There's no coming back from this. I suppose there's an argument of why you attacked with the unicorn on his Spellslinger, but I assume that's because you think he's going to Death Door next turn, so you just want the unicorn as close as possible to him.
Yep.
From memory, I can't remember what he does with this bog, but I also think it might have been.
Well, yeah, and just generally you want stuff in different way.
I think he moves it actually and does it
when you're approaching Death's Door. You just want less places for him to be able to run away to.
Yep.
So.
Can't remember what he drew for this turn, but I think we're about to see it anyway. So, but I think he bogs the cave trolls. Yeah, he does it to there and then realizes that you do it to the cave trolls. I think, but I can't remember. Can't remember. Maybe it stays there just so it can't move up, but. Yeah, so there's an argument for this turn. You know that you're guaranteed going to Death Door, right? This turn with whatever you do with the combination of stuff you have. So you play the bog in the back line, you bog down the unicorn, and you play the field labourers on the bog that's on site 2, so that then next turn you can potentially move your Spellslinger across, tap the field labourers and play a Ratanus Titan to where the unicorn was, and then you have a blocker. Maybe you don't die over the next couple of turns.
Yeah, but you didn't want to give that up for nothing.
The way it turns out is you go to Death's Door, you lose your board. It's all bad, and the game's just over from here. Well, that's a bit of glare on that site. That could be a site of some kind, I assume.
Yep. Don't know. It's a water site. I think it's a stream.
Yeah.
Might be able to go back and catch it on the replay if it matters.
No, I don't think it matters.
The only other one it is what was the other one? The disabled one.
Yeah.
Don't think it's that one.
Which wouldn't even be bad in this situation. Right, because it means he wouldn't be able to. Your minions would be disabled on the Bosk and the Sealy Court, but probably wouldn't matter, and they couldn't be attacked with some kind of charge minion, which wouldn't exist. But you could go air sight and the 5 power charge guy. But yeah, he's
And
in
he's
a
still got
very
another
bad-
turn left in him, right? If he played the side on the other side last time and put the field labourers across there, right?
Yep.
And bog down the... Yeah.
Because the unicorn would still be where the leprechaun is, but the leprechaun probably would have gone across to the valley, and the unicorn would still be there. And then you would have a Ratanus Titan on top of which would kill the unicorn and then block the leprechaun, so you wouldn't be able to attack either. Especially with another bog, right? You could even bog down the leprechaun, and then you're definitely living another turn.
Yep, he's living another turn regardless.
Doesn't he die here? Isn't he just dead on board? Attack.
The unicorn's bogged.
Oh, yeah, true. Yep.
Because I was like, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember winning. I remember, like, not winning this turn.
Yeah.
sort of, or not winning. There you go, Stone Rain. Okay.
Oh, you do win this turn, yeah.
You win, yeah. No, I mean, I remember, how do you say, like, I remember, not winning with that attack, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Stone Rain doing some work. I think now you start explaining some of these things, but the reality is that Ratanus Titan's pretty good, Bog's pretty good. Like, he had Excalibur the Bears and some stuff. Like, I think there's a world where it plays out differently with the exact same cards drawn and he wins. I'm not entirely sure, but if it's like automatic, but I think it's possible. For sure.
I think if this game was played between me and you, it would have looked completely different, and there's a good chance it would have been a win for Luke's side. But it would have been, like, much more of a game, right? It would have been, who knows, like, because it was so, like, the game states would have been completely different throughout every stage of the game, basically, is what we've worked out from just discussing this game itself. So there's no real way to know exactly which way it would have gone, but yeah.
No, but it doesn't. I mean, that's not really the point anyway. Like,
no,
because it's not really about if you have made these mistakes, if you still would have lost anyway, right? It's more just about you should just even if you lose, you should still try to play the best you can. Like,
yes,
like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not really about. Obviously, it matters if you win or lose, but that's such short-sightedness in improving in this game, right? Like, you just want to do the best that you can, and a lot of it is just really about everything you do. You at least thought about it, and you did it for a reason, right? And then it could be a mistake, but if you thought about it, then you have the ability to realize that you made a mistake, and then you get to learn from it and improve, pretty much.
Also, I think what's going on the screen right now, it really describes what we were talking about earlier with how we try and help everybody improve, right? By just explaining, basically, like, this is the spot you lost the game. Well, he lost it the turn before, but this was a big part where he just made very clear things that you can make better in the future. This was just straight up suboptimal towards, completely bad, right? Explained all the different variations of, what you can do with the jewel and the fact that the jewel is basically dead if you don't play it this turn. All those sorts of things, right? And we're just trying to help people improve, and, it's very clear that the people around here are getting quite good, very quick, from these sort of interactions.
I mean, Luke is really good. It's a bit of a shame that he made these 2 errors, I guess, one big one, but it's a bit of I'm gonna put
so he smashed me the round before. Well, not smashed, it was a pretty close game, but he bashed me the game before with some really well-timed tricks that just completely blew me out throughout the game, and that's why he's sitting there and not me, pretty much. So he is good, and he doesn't get to play that often, so he's still reasonably new if you think of how many games he's actually played. This weekend played 14 games, and throughout the rest of the year it wouldn't be an extreme amount more than that, because he started playing about, when did we switch to Saturdays? Sometime this year, right?
Yeah.
Was it after? It was before.
He certainly would have played more than 14 games, but yeah, it's...
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to work out roughly, like half a year, or is it like 8 months, somewhere around there? Yeah, and we play like fortnightly, so it's only a couple of times a month.
So we would have played like 12 events or something, 30 odd games or whatever, and you played, like, you show up early and play him constructed a bit, but realistically he's probably played less than 50 games of Sorcery in his life.
Yep.
Or around 50, like, total ever. Something like that.
I mean, he always has to ask us rules questions every time.
Yeah.
Which is... Sorcery in general, pretty hard to know all the rules, because there's some very weird interactions and stuff that work ways you don't expect when you're coming from other games. But yeah, he's always been pretty good at card games, and I think if he played, as much as we have, he'd be right up there with us, sort of thing. And we've played an unreasonable amount between testing, because he also never tests. Like, he doesn't, like, outside of when we actually play, he just doesn't play, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really get the reps in, and, because, like, it took us quite a while to get the grid stuff down and, work out where to play sites, and we've spent, like, hours and hours and hours just talking to each other, and even on just single site placements and things like that, so... And a lot of this game was lost on placement.
Yep.
Not even, like, there wasn't decision-making so much as just... Well, I mean,
like,
I suppose technically it's decision-making.
That's where it started, almost. And even then, up until this point, the real questions were actually about my mistake or suboptimal play, right? Like, should I have offset everything to the right here instead of saying centrals type of thing?
Yes.
Which, interestingly, it is absolutely the right decision to offset it to the right if there was going to be brown bears coming down on the other side.
Yeah.
So, it's... But, yeah, I think... Like, the cards...
I suppose the way you moved led him into playing incorrectly. So that's potentially another way to look at it.
Yep, but the placements are a big deal, I think, and
yep.
It's a very
I think most games are won and lost on things like that.
The fundamental point, really, though, is he probably had the deck and had the cards, even in this specific game, right? Had the sites, had the cards where it was possible to win, and not in just some abstract, like, it was technically possible, right? Like, it was very possible, right? Would it have required perfect play?
If you get to a game state, I was just going to say, if you get to a game state where you don't blow him out massively on that one turn, and it's a fairly even game state, and then he just has Titan and the Giant, you're probably in a fair bit of trouble, right?
Yeah. And he's got tricks, as you're saying, though. So as long as he's got stuff on board, he's always got the prospect to blow me out at any point. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like Retanus Titan, and then the following turn just a Retanus Titan or something.
So he also had the Flaming Sword, that splash damage in his deck. That was causing me massive issues. And with the way all your stuff was stacked up on one site, all you ever had to do was draw that, and you probably lose the game for like a few of those turns. It's pretty good at breaking board states.
Yeah.
Just massive splash on any of the big units and kill everything in one square. You guarantee you're sacrificing that unit, but that's fine, right?
And I was just backing up through the things. I think this was the first thing. Like, this bear's out here, that's just wrong. That bears should probably just be on the unicorn. That's what we worked out, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think the site placement in general was probably fine, but just the bears should be on the unicorn.
And then the next issue was... Maybe he should have just double blocked here. Maybe not. Don't know. I was expecting it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's not a clear mistake, though.
Because he was setting up for the Excalibur plus Stealth to guarantee the kill for free without losing his Shelly code as well. I think that taking the damage is fine if you're setting up that next turn, right? Because if you play the Swindler Troop in the right spot, you're actually probably winning from that board state with what's in his hand, and he's got the Jewel and all those other few different tricks. On top of the fact, if the bear is in the right spot, it's an absolute blowout. And even if that site isn't there, it forces the Swindler Troop into, if not the perfect spot in the middle, onto the stream. Or he might even play it where the brown bears is, which would be really bad, but...
this was the word. I mean, the brown bears off there is not good. it's definitely should be work, but this is just really bad. This one in particular.
Yeah, these couple of turns snowball into each other to make his life really hard, which sort of blows the whole game out. And then it's just really hard to come back from there. Like the drawing of sights into the Ratanus Titan thing would never have to be even considered if he didn't mess these turns up and get into a really bad state. And then all of a sudden he's got a couple more spells. He's ramping into really thick, massive units. Your deck doesn't really deal with 6-power units very well.
No,
like,
and even just having to move this across, it's tapped. They can't defend. Like, that's so bad. Yeah. Like, even if it's just where the other stuff is, right? Even if it's not on the stream, even if it was just on this valley to start with, it would be.
Yeah. So this Brown Bears effectively does nothing for the whole game, right? Because it just sacrifices itself into a pigs.
Yeah.
So, bit rough. When we're saying we consider Brown Bears to be one of the best cards in Limited for this format, for it to be like, because he would have had to have picked it very highly, and then all of a sudden one of your top picks in your whole draft are doing nothing for you for the whole game, as well as making you sacrifice a whole turn to play it.
Yeah,
that's a lot of tempo and card quality lost.
So then the next, and then it's this turn as well, right? Is another.
Yeah, this is the massive blowout turn.
And then he has another turn.
All of this only happened because of the misplacements for the previous two turns, which led to a board state where he could do this.
But this is another suboptimal turn, basically, right? This one as well.
Yeah, and then this one. Well, this one's not even suboptimal. This one's just straight up bad. Like, even if you don't... Yeah, I don't know.
You just got to take the unicorn and the leprechaun off the board.
Yeah.
You just... Yeah.
Yeah, this one is, I think, the point of the game where he was just got so blown out, and now he's so far behind that he's just a little bit like, oh, I guess I've already lost, sort of thing, and maybe just stopped thinking a little bit at this point, and went on a little bit on autopilot. Because I think on the next turn, right, he doesn't even consider drawing a sight, like on this turn, like basically, so he's probably already not thinking as much as he should about what he should be doing for his turns.
Yeah, and I would say it's... Yeah, obviously that's just the thing. It's definitely something for me that there have been multiple games that have been really important where we're continuing to 100% focus and try to... first game of the top 8 in this was one of those games, right? Didn't draw those fire sights. The last two, opponent was on 20 still, I believe. I was on death's door.
Yeah.
It was basically impossible to win, almost impossible, but I won, right? And if I had I don't know, whatever the framing you want to use, collapsed into that mindset of effectively going through the motions and have, I don't know if given up is but just I don't know what the right framing there is, but there is whatever you're describing, right? Like, then I'll just lose that game. And that isn't the only time that's ever happened for important. When I won the Season 7 online league, one of my top cut matches were absolutely like that, where my opponent had some blowout start with triple ruler of Thule, off of 2 self-sames and off of a ruler of Thule and 2 self-same ruler of Thules or whatever, and I was basically it was a total blowout. I was on death's door by turn 5 or something crazy, and managed to win that one. So it's, I don't know. There's something in there about when you're in that sort of position and if you make a mistake, because I think the thing is he probably made the second mistake because he made the first mistake as well, right?
Yep.
That's
I think
thing.
all the mistakes
sort of cascades, and it's very difficult to make a mistake, especially a biggish one during a game, and
shake it off.
Yeah, because the one in particular that in the top cut that I'm talking about as well, I realized, because I got blown out by this triple rule of Thule or whatever, but then I realized that the turn that the first ruler had come across, I could have earthquaked it, but I didn't add the mana from the core.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then thought I only had 4 mana, and then the next turn, it was, I was basically Death's Door the following turn, and then realized after the mistake, and it, how do you say it? Like, it definitely impacted me, but it was just like, you just gotta, I don't know. There's something in there about it's very
basically
difficult.
when you have a mistake like that, you just need to try and reset your mental, reassess the board state, and make a new game plan going forward. With that mistake, it's happened, it's in the past. Let's just try and work out the best way to win from this point forward. That's basically what you have to do. And I'm not saying it's easy, because a lot of the time when you make a mistake, it really, it can really get in there, and you start, second thinking everything, and it just keeps coming back up, it keeps popping it back into your mind, and you just have to try and push it away and be like, all right, I'll work it out after what, the best way. Let's just focus on this game and focus on the path forward that leads me to victory, effectively.
Yeah, I think so. And it's very hard because you don't want to underplay. Like, when you talk about this, it's like it's very hard to find the right words because you don't want to understate how much this just impacts everybody generally, right? Like, it's just the thing. Yeah, sure. Certainly impacts me, and you just that's a big part of it. I think is what you're saying is you just, at the end of the day, you just got to look at it from the perspective of you're going to make mistakes, and it's always about just. It's all, I don't know. For me personally, I am less concerned with winning and losing, and more concerned about just trying to play correctly, basically. So when you can sort of divorce your mental state from the winning and losing mattering so much, and it just becoming about playing perfectly, it's much easier to sort of reset that mindset after you make a mistake, if that makes sense. Because you made a mistake, you haven't played perfect, fine, mistakes happen, right? But there's still the challenge of playing perfectly from this point forwards.
Yes.
Right, and then you just try to embrace that challenge.
That possibilities have completely changed on all the different variations, right? To play perfectly from that point as well. So it's basically just like a new fresh puzzle.
Yeah,
when you make a mistake,
you treat it like a puzzle. That might be the best way to frame it, though, right? It's almost like that. I don't think you play Magic, but there used to be this in the Duelist. There was like a Magic the Puzzling thing, where it was like, in a magazine, it had like a board state, and there was like one possible way you could win or something from it. Does that make sense? There was these very complicated board states, and you had to
It's done a lot. Every game has that sort of puzzle feature, and it's, a lot of the time it's just community based. But chess and all that sort of thing. Hearthstone for a while.
Exactly. The chess have them a lot. So I think it's almost like you just mentally you sort of, I don't know, you're transitioning more like you're trying to solve a puzzle as opposed to trying to win a game. And then I find it easier to remain composed after mistakes, adopting that mindset. But it's, again, I don't want to understate how, and everyone's human. And obviously, the more there is on the line, the harder and harder that becomes to some degree.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, different people are affected by stress differently as well. Some people, it helps them, right? When there's something on the line, it helps them to lock in and think better, play better, be a lot tighter with all the things they do. Other people, the stress pushes them the other way, right? Where it's just too much, and they're just start panicking and getting shaky, or just can't they can't run different lines in their head, sort of thing, and they just get locked in on one sort of thing, and they tunnel vision and can only go one direction. And still different ways. It's just different for everybody.
Yeah, it's very exactly. It's just hard. You don't want any of this to sound like a. It's not a criticism, really. It's very hard to talk about this stuff really in a way that doesn't sound like a criticism as such, but it certainly isn't. I mean, and I think on the whole, at a personal level or whatever, it's Luke's pretty composed generally, certainly compared to the average person. Jesus, it's despite all of this, despite all of this, is my hand's probably more shaky right now than what his is, type of thing. So it's not like. And I've certainly played against some people that are really shaky, if you know what I mean. Not really, really shaky, really nervous. And again, I'm sure I've been nervous as well sometimes, so it's not like it's but the most important thing when you're nervous like that and you feel if you're a bit shaky or whatever is to realize that that's the case, right? You acknowledge that that's happening. and you just take a second and you're just like, right,
Try and compose
chill
yourself.
out here, compose yourself. Like, this is not, well, maybe if you're the type of person who's shaking all over the place, it's going to help them think better. But I'm certainly not one of those people. I definitely will think better if I'm just sort of composed and in there. So, but I don't know. For me, it's more just about you just try to play optimally. Make sure you do everything for a reason. Maybe that reason is wrong. Maybe your logic is flawed. But as long as you're always thinking about it and doing everything for a reason, then you can learn and you can improve. And because if you think about it and you do it for a reason, that's when you empower yourself to basically realize when you're wrong about it, rather than sort of falling into this sort of mindset where every time you lose is because you were unlucky, if that makes sense. Which is a horrible mindset to have if you want to improve. It's absolutely horrible. It's totally possible that you can be unlucky, but especially in Sorcery, like nearly every game, despite the luck involved, the person who is unlucky, so to speak, can nearly always overcome that into a victory if the lucky person is making mistakes and they're playing perfectly.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Now, will they necessarily make mistakes? Maybe they're lucky and they don't make any mistakes, but like at the end of the day, the luck's the luck, so to speak, right? Like in the moment of the game, what's in your control is to play perfectly, pretty much, right? And it's just you just focus on
It's
that.
sort of like going back to thinking of it as like a puzzle, right? It's like it doesn't matter how lucky you are if you're just trying to work the puzzle out. How lucky they are, how lucky you are. You just work with the tools that are available and work from there.
Yeah.
And just try and keep the luck, out of your mind, and it sort of it does help you, like, not go on tilt sort of thing as well if you like sort of try and discard that luck, because I'm sure like there would have been people that like when you played the turn 2 unicorn on the play in the finals, they would have been like completely tilted and been like, oh, I can't come back from this, and got on tilt and played completely terrible,
draw, but yeah.
Stressed out, right? But,
I was on the draw, I wasn't on the play, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, on the draw, sorry. But yeah, but there's that situation of like, oh man, what a draw in the finals, right? Turn 1 unicorn, turn 2 pond, you into turn 1 village into a turn 2 unicorn. Some people would just be like, oh, this is bull. What's going on? Like, this isn't fair. And yeah, you just have to try and keep composed and work with what's presented effectively.
Yeah, but all of this nuance is why why the game's so good, though.
Yep.
Pretty much, and why we like it as much as we do, and why a lot of this nuance obviously sort of exists in Constructed, but it's kind of different nuance on the most part, a lot of it, right? Like, I really like limited play in Sorcery. A lot of this...
I think this game is way better for limited than it is for Constructed overall.
Yeah. Yep, that's definitely a hot take that I agree with, but I think it's hot take from, there's so many people that just don't even play limited at all, pretty much, and they only play Constructed. Yeah. Cool. Alright, well, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Let us know. We got, like we said, we recorded the Gothic stuff. The Gothic draft, I think, will be pretty easy to do. The games, I think we could do something, but it's going to take a bit of work, just because it's on quite an angle, right? So it's quite difficult to see, but maybe we can make it work. And then we've got the other 2 games from this. There is the one where I didn't draw the fire sites until the end, which is sort of an example of why, no matter how bad it all goes, it's good to just keep your composure, just in case your opponent, makes a couple of mistakes and gives you a chance to win, which is basically what happened in that one. So yeah, all right. Any closing word?
Bye.
All right, bye everybody, and keep safe, keep well, keep enjoying your Sorcery, and we'll catch you for the next one.